Chapter 967. F***CK. I've seen a ghost today. I actually wrote until my neck cramped. F***CK. I'm sweating. Fourth Demon Slayer Strike. The Demon Slayer power contained in the battle spear had reached the level of an unparalleled expert. It was not inferior to the great demon god of destruction. The battle spear formed by the great demon god of destruction was not the real great demon god of destruction. Instead, it was formed by the great demon god of destruction's will. When it collided with the Demon Slayer battle spear, it was naturally destroyed on the spot. It shattered into pieces. Bang! The Demon Slayer battle spear smashed through the battle spear of annihilation like it was breaking rotten wood. Following the battle spear, it pierced through the great destruction demon god's right arm. The entire arm exploded on the spot. The spear pierced into the demon god's chest. Silver-white Demon Slayer power erupted and rampaged within the demon god's body. Half of the towering demon god's body was shattered by a single blow. Half of the demon god of destruction's body was shattered. Good. Ming immediately shouted, "Well done." The 9 Devil Slayer strikes is really worthy of being a peerless battle skill deduced by gathering the boundless wisdom of the ancient races. As long as your body can withstand it, it's enough for you to challenge those of a higher realm. Each of the 98 great demon gods of destruction is controlled by a demon general. I wonder if they killed him just now. The 98 demon generals turned into demon sons and merged with the great demon god of destruction's body. It was equivalent to them controlling the terrifying demon god. Oomph. Demons are indeed demons. You can indeed challenge those of a higher level. However, you will definitely die today. You won't be able to kill me. A furious roar came from the great demon god of destruction. The shattered demon god of destruction quickly devoured the surrounding great demon slayer force. The demon god of destruction's body grew back at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, it was restored to its original state. Oh no! As expected, as long as the demon generals don't die, these great demon gods of destruction can't be killed either. Ming's expression changed slightly. This meant that these great demon gods of destruction were almost indestructible. Moreover, the demon generals hid in the demon gods' bodies and could change their whereabouts at will. It was almost impossible to catch them. If this continued, they would not be able to escape the fate of being killed by these demon gods. Great Demon Slayer. Boom! Boom! Nearly 100 great devastation demon gods moved at the same time. Their pitch-black, great devastation spears bombarded the Celestial Emperor's chariot from every angle with an unstoppable momentum. The continuous bombardment was comparable to that of a peerless powerhouse. It contained the will of the great annihilation and contained boundless destructive power. It poured onto the canopy of the Celestial Emperor. The canopy trembled violently, and the multicolored light emitted from it dimmed at an astonishing speed. It seemed like it would collapse at any moment. The war chariot was directly smashed from the sky to the ground. The surrounding space showed signs of great destruction. It kept collapsing. The recoil from the canopy landed on D. Shurtian's body. He felt as if he was an ordinary person who had been hit by a speeding truck. The blood and chi in his body churned, and the 8 divine rings of immortality revolved at an astonishing speed. Puff! Even so, he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. The newly born 8th seeing halo was destroyed on the spot. Bang! A great devastation spear pierced a terrifying hole in the canopy of the Celestial Emperor. It directly blasted towards D. Shurtian, but was blocked by the divine rings of immortality. Another divine ring collapsed. The attack of the great devastation demon gods was simply terrifying. Even the canopy of the Celestial Emperor was broken. Even the defense of the Celestial Emperor's chariot, which was a top-grade innate spiritual treasure, was broken. One could imagine how terrifying the attack of these demon gods was. Looking at the intention of that group of devil generals, it was obvious that they wanted to kill Sakura completely without leaving any chance. The great devastation spears bombarded one after another, piercing a hideous hole in the canopy. D. Shurtian was not flustered. Purple gold divine light flashed between his brows and quickly pulled to the sides. It revealed a pair of cold purple gold eyes. At the same time, the moment he opened his divine eyes, the majesty of his body suddenly increased by dozens of times. The vast majesty shook the void. Heavenly punishment divine eye, delusion breaker. Suddenly, the divine eye rippled with traces of mystical light. It was as if everything in the world was illusory. He glanced at the great devastation demon god at the front. In an instant, he saw a completely different scene. In the body of the demon god, there was a pitch-black demon sun that was constantly moving. In the demon sun, there was a demon general sitting upright. His figure could not hide at all under the divine eye. Demon Slayer. Deshurtian's body burst forth with monstrous battle intent. The Demon Slayer spear in his hand blasted towards a great devastation demon god at an astonishing speed. For consecutive strikes, the entire spear carried boundless Demon Slayer will and instantly blasted towards the right leg of the demon god. The Demon Slayer spear burst forth with dazzling divine light. In an instant, it blasted into the thigh of the great devastation demon god at an astonishing speed. Impossible! In the body of the great devastation demon god, there was a shrill howl. The howl was filled with fear and disbelief. Under the might of the devil-slaying battle spear, one of the devil sons was pierced through. The battle spear directly pierced into the heart of the devil general as the tyrannical devil-slaying might frenziedly ravaged his body. In the blink of an eye, the devil general was crushed into pieces. Rumble. Once the demon general died, the great devastation demon god that he had formed crumbled on the spot. In the blink of an eye, it dissipated into nothingness. The demon general's body and the demon general platform were immediately taken over by Deshurtian. The demon general's body was sent into the heavenly emperor furnace, while the demon general platform was suppressed in the inner world. Massive Emperor Dragon Yuan gushed into the demon body. Shocking. This blow caused the rest of the great devastation demon gods to stop in their tracks. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. It was as if they could not believe what they were seeing. How was this possible? We are hiding in the bodies of the great devastation demon gods and are constantly changing. Even if the demon gods are destroyed, they would not be able to find us. How could he hit us so coincidentally? Could it be that he has a superpower that can see through our true bodies? Can he see through our traces? No matter what, let's attack together. We must kill him. A demon like him is too much of a threat to the demon god continent. We must not let him live. Even if we have to pay a high price, we must kill him. The devil generals all felt that something was wrong. The profoundness of this great destruction, God-slaughtering formation, lay in the fact that they could hide their true bodies as they wished. As long as they weren't killed instantly, they were virtually indestructible. In addition to their fighting strength that was comparable to an unparalleled expert, if one could not find their flaws, even a demon god would be tortured to death. Ordinary superpowers would not be able to see through them. But Deshurtian's actions made them feel a strong sense of danger. Boom, boom, boom. All the demon generals attacked at the same time. The great devastation spears came crashing down on the celestial emperor's war chariot in a destructive manner. Close to 100 spears burst out with power that could destroy everything. They turned into a destructive torrent that swept over. Primordial 9 dragons formed the world annihilation coiling dragon formation. Deshurtian held the demon slayer spear in his hand as his black emperor's robe fluttered without wind. Roar! 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 After receiving the order, the primordial 9 dragons roared in excitement. Their eyes shone fiercely as their bodies shone with a dazzling divine light. As if by instinct, the 9 dragons surrounded the celestial emperor's war chariot and combined together in a strange trajectory. In an instant, 9-color divine light shone brightly. Within the divine light, a huge millstone that was hundreds of thousands of feet wide appeared in the demon domain. This millstone emitted a 9-color divine radiance. On its surface, there were countless mysterious dragon markings. The figures of 9 ancient fierce dragons appeared at the edge of the millstone. They continuously swam as if they were alive. As they swam clockwise, the entire millstone also slowly rotated in that clockwise direction. The Celestial Emperor's war chariot was wrapped in the millstone and protected by the world annihilation coiling dragon formation. The millstone exuded a will of destruction that originated from ancient times. Above the millstone, there were divine dragons that danced continuously. They spat out clouds and mist. Rumble. The great devastation spears struck the world annihilation coiling dragon formation. The millstone emitted a mighty force that could destroy the world. As the 9 dragons swam, it spun rapidly. As it spun, countless world annihilation thunderbolts, destructive storms, and world-cleansing divine flames burst out from the millstone. Earth, fire, water, wind, poison, black ice, and so on. Countless world annihilation disasters gushed out from the millstone like a tidal wave. As the millstone spun, even the void was crushed. One by one, the great spears of destruction were destroyed. The millstone shook violently for a while. World annihilation, coiling dragon formation. Di-Shirtian stood on the Celestial Emperor's war chariot with a cold expression, standing in the middle of the millstone. Outside the millstone, countless world annihilation disasters gushed out crazily. At this moment, he was like a world annihilation emperor. With the power of world annihilation in his hands, the immemorial 9-dragon formation was one of the most powerful killing formations in the world. It had the power to destroy the world. Only by gathering the immemorial 9-dragon formation could one set up such a world annihilation formation. At this moment, when the formation was formed, it immediately clashed with the great devastation God-slaying formation. A fierce battle broke out. Both of them were the most terrifying killing formations, and one of them was inside the other. This time, it was like the two extremes of yin and yang collided. The entire demon domain was trembling violently. It was constantly shaking. Every time the millstone spun, a world annihilation disaster erupted, wantonly destroying the demon domain. It attacked in all directions. Not good. Breaking the formation with the formation, we can't let him continue. Once the formation collapses, I'm afraid we'll all die in his hands. Break this world annihilation millstone. The demon generals' faces changed. They immediately realized the terrible consequences. Slay the demons. Di-Shirtan stood on the millstone as the world annihilation disasters alternated around him. His 10,000 feet tall demon body exuded a monstrous power, and his heavenly punishment divine, I could see through illusions. When he saw the demon general's panicked looks, he sneered. The demon-slaying spear in his hand blasted out mercilessly. For consecutive strikes, the huge spear instantly pierced into the chest of a great devastation demon god with a thunderous momentum. Looking at the chest, one could see that a demon son had been pierced through. The spear shook, and another demon general was shattered into pieces. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 968. The demon race and the demon gods were mixed together on the Skyfall battlefield, fighting to the death. No matter which side it was, they did not hold back in the slightest. Every strike was a sure kill move, and their Dharma spells and divine abilities were launched in the most ferocious and domineering manner. Almost every part of the battlefield was filled with the most chaotic power of destruction. Although the demon race fought bravely, in terms of overall numbers and cultivation, they were at an irreversible disadvantage. In addition to the demon god army, there seemed to be an endless stream of demon gods. This caused the demon race's side to inevitably show signs of defeat. Even though Sakura had massacred the demon god army time and time again, but compared to the entire demon god army, millions and tens of millions of demon gods were simply a drop in the ocean. Once this side died, there would immediately be more demon gods swarming over. In front of the sky demon army, the demon race fought desperately, but it was still difficult for them to hold on alone. The demon god army gradually approached the starry battle island, and on the battlefield, there was an area that appeared particularly strange. It attracted countless gazes. A pitch-black demonic picture covered the vast battlefield that spanned hundreds of thousands of miles. The demonic picture was constantly brewing a terrifying destructive power. Anyone who approached it, be it a demon warrior or a demon god, would be crushed into pieces in an instant. Not even dregs were left. This demon picture was formed by the condensation of many demon generals and was the strongest combat power of the demon gods. Most importantly, Di-Shir-Tian, who had suddenly risen to power among the demon race, was swept into the demon picture. Obviously, this was a different kind of war between the demon race and the demon gods. If Di-Shir-Tian died, the demon race's morale would definitely plummet. If the demon generals died, the demon gods would also suffer heavy losses. As such, it was difficult not to attract attention. Even the demon immortals and demon emperors on the two battle islands were paying close attention to the battle. On the starry battle island, Demon Master, although Di-Shir-Tian has never had a reputation in the clan before, his cultivation method and aptitude can be said to be the one and only peerless heaven's pride in our clan. With his heaven-grade demon mansion, mysterious war chariot, and achievements in body refining, there is a great possibility that he can break through to the realm of unparalleled experts. He had tempered his demonic body to the point where it was comparable to an unparalleled expert. Even if he didn't cultivate the immortal primordial spirit, his battle strength wouldn't be inferior to ours. We can't let such a weirdo fall on the battlefield. A clear female voice sounded. There was a valiant and resolute tone in her voice. Vermilion bird, celestial maiden, you're right. This Di-Shir-Tian is obviously going to the extreme. He wants to break through the Tao with brute force and push his combat ability to the level of a peerless master. At this moment, this is indeed the best way to break through the Tao with the physical body. There's no need to comprehend the realm. However, if his primordial spirit was really injured, he would be in danger of dying. Demon Master, in my opinion, we should first rescue Di-Shir-Tian from the demonic array. A rough voice rang out. That's right. Such a talent is the future hope of our demon clan. A dignified voice sounded. It seemed to be from the Demon Master. Judging from their words, the demon gods of the demon race seemed to hold Di-Shir-Tian in high regard. They couldn't help but want to tear the demonic array apart and rescue Di-Shir-Tian. Crack! Rumble! However, right at that moment, the originally calm demonic diagram suddenly began to violently vibrate. Around the demonic diagram, all sorts of scenes of great destruction erupted. It was as if countless worlds had collapsed in an instant. A vast demonic domain appeared in the demonic array and vaguely appeared on the battlefield. Something's wrong. In an instant, this thought reverberated in the minds of countless masters who were watching. In the demonic diagram, a 9-colored millstone appeared. The millstone spun, and every time it spun, it would cause the surroundings to crumble. Countless catastrophes would emerge, and a terrifying storm would spread rapidly in all directions. It was as if it wanted to completely crush the demonic domain around it into dust. At the same time, countless great destructive forces turned into blades and attacked the millstone. They wanted to destroy the millstone. Countless dimensions were constantly annihilated. Doomsday scenes appeared in the demonic array. Dragon roars shook the 9 heavens. Apocalyptic disasters appeared everywhere. What's that millstone? The primordial 9 dragons. Could it be the world-destroying dragon array formed by the primordial 9 dragons? On the spot, there were bursts of exclamations on the battlefield. The Great Destruction God-slaying formation. The world-destroying coiling dragon formation. This time, the two supreme killing formations collided almost unavoidably. How could the demon generals let Di-Shir-Tian break through the formation so easily? Once the god-slaying formation was destroyed, their monstrous battle strength would dissipate in the blink of an eye. At that time, they would suffer terrible misfortune. Kill. The great destruction demon gods roared, and the great destruction spears in their hands bombarded the millstone. The millstone trembled continuously, but did not collapse. Today, all of you will die. You are all fated to become my stepping stones, a part of my power. Slay demons. Slay demons. Shirtian's black hair danced wildly behind his head. Between his brows, the heavenly punishment divine, I saw through everything. He looked at the ferocious demon gods without the slightest fear. All the attacks were destroyed by the world-destroying millstone, so he did not have to care about any attacks. In an instant, a monstrous battle intent emerged in his heart. His arms displayed boundless divine power. He bombarded the great destruction demon gods without hesitation. Slay demons. Slay demons. Countless demon-slaying wills gathered into an unstoppable torrent. Bang! The battle spear stabbed into the neck of a demon god, and the tip of the spear pierced through a demon general. Kacha! The demon slayer battle spear was waved again and again. Shirtian seemed to have transformed into a ruthless emperor of slaughter. Under the divine power of the heavenly punishment divine eye, all the demon generals could not escape. No matter how the great destruction demon gods bombarded the world-destroying millstone, he remained unmoved. He waved the battle spear calmly and killed the demon generals. At the first moment, he swept all the demon generals into the celestial emperor's war chariot. Rumble. In the demonic domain, demonic generals fell one after another under the demonic spear. Almost every time the battle spear was waved, a demon general fell. A formless fear unconsciously appeared in the minds of the remaining demon generals. I will fight it out with you. Let's perish together. In just a short while, there were less than 40 demon generals left. One of them was almost in a frenzy. He let out a roar, and a great destruction demon god broke through the air and appeared beside the world-destroying millstone. His face was unusually ferocious. Rumble. This demon god had no intention of attacking at all. As soon as it appeared outside the millstone, a terrifying destructive power gushed out from its body. The huge demon god suddenly exploded, turning into the most violent torrent of destruction that slammed into the millstone. Self-destruction. This was not only the self-destruction of the demon general, but also the self-destruction of the great destroyer demon god, whose battle prowess was comparable to that of a peerless expert. The destructive power of the self-destruction of such an existence was almost unimaginable. Countless pitch-black great destroyer storms wrapped around the obliterating millstone and tore it apart. This caused the millstone to rumble intensely. Vaguely, even its light dimmed somewhat. As it moved, it became a little stiff and slow. However, the world-destroying millstone still did not crumble. The immemorial 9 dragons roared and pushed the millstone firmly, causing the world-destroying disaster to erupt. Kill. Shirtian was not moved. The battle spear in his hand was still steady and resolute as he attacked the remaining demon gods. At the same time, countless emperor draconic essences drilled into his body. The boundless undying will continuously poured into the undying divine rings. The 8 divine rings were circulating at an astonishing speed in almost every breath. They were tempering his demonic body. The halo of seeing, which had been formed not long ago, was condensing at a speed visible to the naked eye from the blurry and illusory realm. At this moment, after receiving the full power of the demon generals, the seeing halo was completed. The divine ring of light became complete again. A new undying Holy Spirit was born in the divine ring, and its eyes shone with dazzling purple-gold divine light. Bang! The instant the divine halos of oblivion reached perfection, the mighty power that erupted from the 8 divine halos of oblivion crushed Sakra's entire body into 129,600 drops of purplish gold blood essence. At this moment, the blood essence had already turned into crystal-like crystals. It was as if they were eternally indestructible and could not decay. The 8 undying divine rings revolve around each drop of blood essence. Using battle to nurture battle, Extreme Emperor Immortal Body Ninth tier, condense. All the demon generals that he had killed earlier had turned into power and turned into Emperor draconic essences. The boundless Undying will descended at the same time. The new Undying will quickly merged into the blood essence. This time, it was the Undying will. In the eyes of outsiders, D. Shurtian's body seemed to have suddenly collapsed a moment ago. However, in the next moment, it reformed at an unimaginable speed. Another Undying divine ring appeared outside his body. He now had 9 Undying divine rings. The skin on the surface of his demonic body glowed with purple-gold divine light. It was as if what was under the skin was not flesh and blood, but an indestructible crystal. It was an emperor rune that was the source of his power. Every inch of his flesh and blood gave birth to an endless amount of mighty power. His demonic body grew to 11,000 feet. Rumble. A beam of purple-gold divine light burst out from D. Shurtian's body. Wherever it went, space crumbled inch by inch. It was as if space, time, and all the laws were being suppressed. A sense of oppression that came from pure power could vaguely suppress the operation of the laws of heaven and earth. Vaguely, one could see that countless laws had condensed into chains that bound his demonic body. Haha, extreme Emperor immortal body, 9th tier. Crazy Emperor, you have reached a state that is close to the pinnacle in body refining. Even the laws of heaven and earth have begun to suppress and restrain you. This means that each of your attacks has the power to shake the laws of heaven and earth. You are only one step away from proving your Tao through strength, reaching the pinnacle of strength and shattering the vacuum. Kill these demon generals, devour them all, and reach the 10th tier. Your battle strength will be able to contend with a peerless expert. Dark was overjoyed. The power in his demonic body was comparable to a peak heavenly demon's battle strength. Rumble. D. Shurtian's expression was cold. His empty left hand suddenly appeared on the handle of Tiger Soul, which was stabbed into the ground beside him. Clang! He pulled Tiger Soul out with a flip of his hand. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. I support the author. I support the original reading. Chapter 969. Roar. A golden battle tiger emerged from the tiger's soul and let out a deafening roar. D. Shurtian turned his wrist and slashed forward with the saber. The 3,000 gods and demons accompanied the tiger's soul, crazily devouring the boundless heaven-earth yuan qi in the surroundings. The power of annihilation emitted an endless will of death, bringing with it the determination to take the enemy down with them in their despair. This was the cry of the gods and demons when they fell. It was the song of praise for the gods and demons. All the gods and demons rushed into the saber. They gathered all their strength into the saber. Extreme monarch emperor way. Death of gods and demons. This was the most desperate counterattack. Similarly, the attack was a fatal move that would make any enemy despair. Crack! The tiger's soul moved extremely slowly in the air. However, the strange thing was that countless ferocious iron chains appeared in the void under the saber. They seemed to want to seal the tiger's soul, but they were all broken by the saber. They turned into destructive power and followed the tiger's soul forward, increasing its power. Fast! It was so fast that it was indescribable. The saber appeared to be unusually slow. Even time couldn't capture it. It was as though time had stopped and slowed down under the saber. The power of 3,000 gods and demons gathered at the same time. The power contained in the tiger soul had reached an unbelievable level. Even the laws were crumbling. On the battlefield, a golden battle saber that was hundreds of thousands of feet long broke out of the demonic diagram. It cut the demonic diagram in half, as though it was cutting tofu. No, retreat quickly. Ask the demon emperor to help. This monster is no longer someone we can keep in check. The demonic diagram was cut into pieces by the saber. Most of the remaining Great Destruction demon gods were also cut in half. The demonic diagram collapsed and turned into demon general platforms that shot out in all directions. At the same time, The remaining demon generals all retreated to the demon burial battle island as fast as they could without hesitation. You want to leave? Stay here for I. Tion didn't even think. He waved the Tiger Soul and Demon Slayer battle spear at the same time, forming perfect arcs of light that slashed at the demon generals, killing them on the spot. He wantonly plundered the demon bodies. Without the augmentation of the great destruction demon god, the Demon Slayer battle spear smashed the demon generals one by one. Every strike caused the laws of the world to crumble. In the blink of an eye, a large number of demon generals fell onto the battle spears. Only 5 devil generals returned to the Devil Island. Ancient 9 dragons, pull the chariot and conquer the world. The world annihilating millstone beneath Tion quickly disintegrated, turning back into 9 primordial fierce dragons. However, there were many wounds on their bodies, and a large amount of dragon scales fell off. However, in the war chariot, a massive amount of dragon essence gushed into it, and its injuries healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. He then excitedly pulled the chariot and was about to charge towards the Devil Burial Battle Island. Oof! A mere demon dares to be so arrogant. Just as Tion drove the war chariot and killed a large number of demon gods in succession and was about to head to the Demon Burial Battle Island, his actions and accomplishments finally angered the Demon Emperor on the battle island. A cold snort was heard. A star saint tree emitting brilliant starlight appeared in the sky above the battle island. On the star saint tree, there were many stars. It exuded a mysterious charm. It was like the mother tree of countless stars. Every leaf had the orbit of the stars. It appeared to be exceptionally noble. On this star saint tree, there stood a woman wearing a star robe and a star crown on her head. Her figure was unusually tall and flawless. Her long hair exuded the brilliance of the stars. Every strand of hair seemed to be a complete Xinghe. Under the beautiful hair, there was a pair of slender ears. There was also an indescribable charm. In her hand, she held a mysterious spirit bow. The appearance of the bow was extremely perfect. There was no flaw to pick out. On the battle bow, there were signs of stars. Vaguely, there was a pitch-black, demonic moon surrounded by stars in the center. It seemed to naturally exude an ancient aura. Almost at all times, this battle bow was constantly gathering the power of the stars and devouring it. It was as if it was the center of all the stars in the sky. The full moon starry bow, she, is the queen of the star elves, the star empress. Lunatic D, be careful of her arrow. She is the unparalleled demon emperor. In her hands, the god-slaying meteor arrow is incomparable to the elven princess. Ming's expression changed. He knew how terrifying the star empress was. She was the top existence in the demon god continent. His battle prowess was definitely not ordinary. This was a real demon emperor, an unparalleled powerhouse. She was not one of those fake half-baked ones. Armor break. The Star Empress's expression was cold. Just by standing there, it seemed as if thousands of stars were orbiting around her. It was as if she had casually drawn the full moon starry bow in her hand into a full moon. Below her, on the star tree, countless stars flew up and quickly condensed into a bead, forming a star arrow. It was knocked on the battle bow. Whoosh! The star arrow left the bow and shot straight toward Tion. Behind it, a bright starlight was drawn. Armor-breaking star arrow. There were 9 moves in the god-slaying meteor arrow. This arrow was the armor-breaking star arrow. It was indestructible. It had the terrifying ability to break through armor. Demon Slayer. The alarm in Sakura's heart was frantically ringing. Seeing that streak of starlight, even the heavenly punishment divine eyes could only catch a slight trace of it. At this moment, he could not recall any combat skills. Under the drive of instinct, the Demon Slayer war spear blasted forward like lightning. Ding! Immediately after, a sharp and mighty force emanated from the battle spear. An indestructible will that could destroy all armor rushed into Yi Futian's body through the battle spear, bringing with it endless sharpness. It was as if the Supreme was going to pierce through Yi Futian's body. 3 of the 9 immortal divine rings that grew from his flesh were shattered. Roar! The immemorial 9 dragons let out a roar of grief and indignation. The entire war chariot was like an ordinary person that was hit by a mad bull. The war chariot was pushed back violently. Every inch it was pushed back caused the surrounding space to shatter. It looked terrifying. Even the celestial emperor chariot was shaking violently. It let out a trembling cry. In an instant, it retreated hundreds of thousands of feet. Puff! A mouthful of blood spurted out from his throat. Is this the true battle strength of the unparalleled demon emperor? All kinds of thoughts flashed wildly in Di Shirtian's mind. In that arrow, he deeply felt the aura of death. The will contained in the arrow was almost unstoppable. It was indestructible and could destroy everything. He was seriously injured by one arrow. This was simply something that had never happened before. The Star Empress seemed to be a little surprised that Di Shirtian could block the arrow. However, without hesitation, she pulled the battle bow again. Another star arrow appeared on the battle bow, and at the first moment, it broke the bowstring. This arrow contained an aura of death that froze everything in its path. Star-shattering ice arrow. The battle arrow was like a meteor chasing after the moon. Once again, it appeared in front of the celestial emperor chariot at an astonishing speed. Demon Slayer strike. 2 strikes, 3 strikes for strikes. Di Shirtian once again instinctively swung 4 strikes. The battle spear carried the Demon Slayer will and collided violently with the battle arrow. Bang! But the strange thing was that this star arrow suddenly cracked under the battle spear, turning into small ice arrows that bombarded the entire chariot. A peerless cold force that could cause all things to wither. With the celestial emperor's chariot as the center, layers of mysterious ice appeared out of thin air in the starry sky, turning hundreds of thousands of miles into a domain of ice. It was as if a mysterious ice continent had appeared out of thin air in the starry sky. The celestial emperor's chariot and the primordial 9 dragons were frozen on the spot. A large number of demon gods and monsters around were also frozen. However, the moment the ice was sealed, all life was extinguished on the spot. This ice contained the power of death. Star Empress, you are despicable. The Star Empress attack only took a blink of an eye to seal the entire celestial emperor's chariot in ice, catching the demon gods on the Star Battle Island a little off guard. However, they immediately reacted. With a roar, the vermilion bird celestial maiden appeared out of thin air. She was dressed in a vermilion palace dress, with a head of fiery red hair. Her face exuded a heroic spirit, like a red lady, with a fiery aura all over her body. She raised her eyebrows, revealing a shocking sense of oppression. How? With a wave of her hand, a vermilion feather turned into a stream of light, transforming into a huge vermilion bird. It opened its mouth and spat out towering divine flames, sweeping towards the mysterious ice on the battlefield. The divine flames of the vermilion bird burned fiercely. The mysterious ice melted at a speed visible to the naked eye. What a terrifying Star Empress! If not for the celestial emperor's chariot, we would have been severely injured today. While being sealed in ice, the celestial emperor's canopy continued to descend with countless rays of light, protecting Di Shirtian and the 9 dragons, blocking the invasion of the cold air. However, the chariot was still completely sealed in ice. The mysterious ice was incomparably hard, filled with the cold force of death, constantly attacking. The 2 consecutive arrows caused Dark to be secretly shocked. Power! I need great power! A firm belief flashed in Di Shirtian's heart. No matter how strong the enemy was, it could not erase his belief in himself. At the same time, it could also arouse his desire to become stronger. At this moment, a strong desire for power kept circling in his mind. Celestial Emperor's furnace, refine all the demon gods. Help me reach the pinnacle. Di Shirtian stepped on the chariot, his mind frantically pushing the celestial emperor's furnace. In the furnace, the demon generals and the other demon gods he had killed previously, as well as many sky demon, were turned into dragon-shaped vital energy at a shocking speed under the furnace's operation and the refinement of the Emperor's flames. They gathered together and turned into a torrent, continuously pouring into his body. At the same time, the refined willpower crystals also entered the demon god's abode, merging with his own willpower body. At this moment, in the Emperor's willpower, purplish-gold willpower crystals were constantly forming, one after another. The speed was astonishing. The 9 indestructible divine rings cleansed the demon god's body time and time again, purifying all the impurities in his flesh. Every breath, every moment, he was constantly becoming stronger, undergoing a shocking transformation. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 970. Clang, clang, clang. On the surface of Sakura's 11,000 feet demonic body, there were numerous tough iron chains floating in the air. Each of these iron chains contained a completely different logic and law. Each and every one of them seemed to contain boundless Tao rhymes, causing one to be unable to help but want to delve deeper into it. They all had endless potential. Together, they interweaved into a fine net of law, completely trapping his entire body. It was as if his every move was restricted by the rules. The world was like a lake. Living beings were like the fish and prawns in the lake. When the fish and prawns were weak, the lake was the source of life that they relied on to survive. It was the foundation of their survival. At that time, the world was vast enough for them to breathe smoothly and live happily. But when the fish and prawns grew stronger, they would feel that the lake was just a shallow beach. Outside the lake, there was a wider and more exciting world. The lake would become an obstacle that restricted their growth, just like how a fish could not leave the water. The water was an obstacle that restricted their growth, and only by leaping out of the water could they see the wider sky. This was like a fish leaping over the dragon gate. With a leap, the fish turned into a dragon. And now, Tion was experiencing the same thing. His physical body was so strong that it could touch the laws of heaven and earth. It was a huge threat to heaven and earth. It was being restricted almost every moment. It had to keep him in check. This was a strange phenomenon caused by Tion using his physical strength to fight against heaven and earth. If his cultivation level was high enough and he wanted to form the immortal primordial spirit, his pinnacle will alone would cause divine punishment. This was not the real promotion to demon god, but another path. Clang, clang, clang. It was like an invisible iron chain that was tightly binding the demon body. As Tion breathed, it made a strange sound as if it was going to break at any time. Roar, roar, roar. In the heavenly emperor's furnace, the vast body of the demonic god was quickly refined into dragon-shaped dragon essence. Each streak was like a real dragon, constantly drilling into the body. In his flesh, with every breath, he could clearly feel the majestic power that was constantly growing stronger. At the same time, purple gold crystals started to form in his emperor's intent. At this moment, he had already formed 50 of them. Moreover, this speed did not slow down at all after obtaining a large number of demon god willpower crystals. It was still condensing at an astonishing speed. Once he condensed 81 of them, his will would immediately transform and condense into a physical body, advancing to the spirit-focused stage. At this moment, he had completely forgotten about the intense battle outside. Just a simple clash with Star Empress made him realize that a true demon emperor, a peerless powerhouse, was so powerful that it had reached an unbelievable level. Even with so many trump cards in hand, it was still as difficult to win as entering the primal chaos. No matter how many trump cards he had, it would be difficult to defend against such a battle. Power. Only with great strength could one enter that level of battle. Empress of Stars, do you really think that there are no monster gods in the Monster Clan? Although most of the monster gods of my clan have killed their way into the primal chaos, I, Vermilion Bird, have never been afraid of you. The Vermilion Bird's celestial maiden had a fiery temper, just like the Red Lady. The Star Empress attack on Sakura had completely infuriated her. When she waved a feather to break the ice, a vermilion battle bow appeared in her hand. The appearance of the battle bow was like a vermilion bird that had spread its wings. How? This bow was her life treasure, the vermilion bird sky-burning bow. As soon as it appeared, she immediately took out a vermilion bird feather and placed it on the bow. With a pull of her hand, the bow was instantly pulled into a full moon. Pointing at Star Empress, an arrow shot out like lightning. The vermilion bird divine arrow drew out a brilliant flame on the battlefield. It did not dissipate for a long time, drawing out hundreds of thousands of feet long. This divine arrow seemed to have turned into a huge vermilion bird in an instant. It spread its wings and slashed forward. The void was burned until it collapsed and melted. Star Empress did not dodge at all. She drew the bow and shot out another arrow. Star Ice shattering arrow. The tips of the two divine arrows collided in the void. One scorched the sky, and the other froze everything. Almost two extremes collided with each other. Immediately, an indescribably shocking destructive power erupted. The surrounding space shook violently, showing signs of collapse. Waves of explosions rang out. All the monster clan and demon gods in this area did not even have the power to resist. They were directly crushed into thousands of pieces. They were either frozen or burned to ashes. Millions of demon gods were annihilated. Shrill screams echoed on the battlefield. Rumble. At this moment, a pitch-black hand that covered the sky appeared on the battlefield out of thin air. There seemed to be countless mysterious vortexes in the palm that kept spinning and disappearing. They were extremely deep, like bottomless holes that sucked in everything around them. They were also like black holes that self-destructed, producing a terrifying annihilation power. As soon as it appeared, the will to devour heaven and earth spread out from the palm. It had already made all the experts within hundreds of thousands of feet feel a sense of fear at the same time. The huge hand that covered the sky slapped down toward Star Empress without mercy. Northern underworld sky devouring palm. The demon master launched a sneak attack. Isn't he afraid of being ridiculed by the heavens? Break! Under the huge hand that covered the sky, a seven-colored demonic finger was like a pillar that supported the sky. It pierced straight through the huge hand from the demon burial battle island. A seven-colored halo appeared on the demonic finger. There seemed to be countless demon gods that were emitting a terrifying that pressed forward courageously. It collided with the huge hand that covered the sky. Immediately, the demonic finger and the palm shook violently. After a short stalemate, they collapsed at the same time. Cave Sky Demon Finger, you are the Cave Heaven Emperor. An old man in a pitch-black robe who looked to be in his 40s or 50s appeared on the battlefield. His hands were behind his back, but he naturally exuded a majestic aura and an inexplicable sense of intimacy. He looked wise and farsighted. It made people unconsciously feel close to him. His gaze was deep. The moment he appeared, the entire space seemed to have strangely collapsed with him as the center. The surrounding spiritual energy of heaven and earth was constantly being devoured by him. It was the legendary dark north heavenly change that would appear when one cultivated it to the limit. Opposite him was a demon emperor in a seven-colored demonic robe. He carried a seven-colored demonic weapon that resembled a saber and a sword on his back. He was only in his 30s or 40s and exuded an aura of vicissitudes. It was none other than the Grotto Heaven Emperor. You demon gods can bully the weak and attack the talents of my race. So what if I, the demon master, killed Star Empress? Let's cut the crap. Today, the demon god continent wants to invade the source world. We will not rest until one of us is dead. I want to see how amazing your Cave Sky Demon Finger is. The demon master sneered. He waved his long sleeve and charged toward the Cave Heaven Emperor without showing any signs of weakness. Then, the remaining howling moon wolf reverend from the demon race charged into the battlefield like a bright moon. He clashed with the demon god continent's 8-armed demon emperor. When the 6 peerless experts clashed, the entire battlefield shook violently. Every strike seemed to have the power to destroy the world. Divine light shot out, shaking the void and swaying the stars. It was as if the stars were spinning in reverse. Every strike had the power to shatter the sun and moon. Power. I want to have infinite power comparable to the peerless experts. Indra's eyes flashed with a blazing light as he looked at the 6 silhouettes. Casually, they were able to unleash a monstrous combat strength that he could only unleash with all his strength. It was as though a ball of fire was burning in his heart. Crack! The immortal body of the extreme emperor continued to crush the demon body at an unprecedented speed, pulverizing it into pieces. At this moment, half of the demon god's flesh in the celestial emperor furnace had been refined. It was all infused into the demon god continent's flesh and blood. The newly born 9th divine ring had turned from an illusory state to an unusually solid halo. On the surface, there seemed to be countless true dragons swimming. Faintly, the 11,000 feet demon god continent's body glowed with a purple-gold glaze. Celestial Emperor Furnace refined the demon god at full speed. D. Shurkian's eyes were fixed on the few figures on the battlefield. Watching the battle between the peerless experts, he could feel the profoundness of it. He had a lot of inspiration for his own battle techniques. However, he had no intention of interfering immediately. He just wanted to raise his demon god continent's combat strength to a level that could rival the demon emperor. Suddenly, without any warning, a strong sense of danger appeared in his mind. Oh no, there's an assassin. Almost instantly, a thought appeared in his mind. Damn it, this must be the dark elf assassin hidden in the dark of the demon god continent. And it could be the legendary god of assassins, sovereign of the Eventide. If it's really him, then it's really bad. He's a demon emperor. With his assassination skills, even the peerless experts have to be wary of him. If he's assassinated, he's in danger of dying. After Dark knew what Sakura was feeling, he immediately shouted loudly. Even his expression began to change. There was no one around. D. Shurtian did not even break the mystic eyes that the Starry Queen had sent out. He wanted to take this opportunity to break through to the 10th tier of the ultimate emperor indestructible body. He wanted to prove his Tao with strength and raise his combat strength to the level of a demon emperor. Therefore, he was not in a hurry to break the mystic ice. However, at this moment, only the legendary sovereign of the Eventide would be able to hide here without being discovered by him. Ultimate Emperor Mask. D. Shurtian instinctively summoned the Ultimate Emperor Mask and covered his face instantly. A real illusion. D. Shurtian's demon god continent turned into nothingness the moment the mask covered his face. It was as if he did not exist at that moment. He was even more illusory than the void. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace. On the Celestial Emperor's chariot, it was as if he had never appeared. Whoosh! Almost at the instant before his body turned illusory, a blood-red demon blade suddenly broke through the Celestial Emperor's canopy without any gap and silently appeared at D. Shurtian's heart. The power of this attack was extremely restrained. It only burst out when it hit the heart. The killing power that burst out pierced through the void. It even created a crack that was tens of thousands of feet long. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. I support the author. I support the original reading. Chapter 971. The Sovereign of the Eventide. It must be the Sovereign of the Eventide. He can even easily pass through the Celestial Emperor's canopy and deliver a sure kill strike. If that strike were to really stab your heart, it would probably be pierced through even with how tough your heart is. Even your Fey residence would be instantly destroyed. That killing power is probably enough to destroy an undying body. To immediately go into hiding after a single strike is definitely the style of the sovereign of the Eventide. Nether was so agitated that his body was constantly trembling. He felt a terrifying chill in his heart. What a terrifying assassination. Sakra's mind couldn't help but flash with the fear of death. If it wasn't for his instinct to let himself enter the illusion, there was a possibility that he might really die from this blow. Up to now, there was still an indescribable chill in his body. An equally intense, killing intent and fear surged in his heart. At the instant the blood-colored demonic blade missed its target, it mysteriously disappeared, just like how it appeared. There was not even a trace of its aura. As for the assassin, there was not even a trace of his figure. It was as if he had never existed. However, an invisible deterrence was constantly spreading in the air. It was a threat that seemed to exist at all times. It was enough to drive an expert crazy on the spot. The most terrifying assassination was when one had no idea where the dagger would appear from. Furthermore, even if one could not see the figure, one still did not dare to relax or be careless. Clearly, the sovereign of the Eventide was hiding in the shadows. Once one revealed a flaw, it would immediately invite a lightning-fast strike, a sure-kill attack. Sovereign of the Eventide, you can't kill me. Tion only hesitated for a moment before he pricked up his eyebrows. His body exuded a boundless might. Although he could not see him, he could clearly sense that the sovereign of the Eventide had not left. He was still lurking nearby. This meant that the sovereign of the Eventide was determined to kill him. Therefore, after a moment of silence, he immediately made up his mind. Being on the defensive was definitely not his character. Since he could not avoid it, there was no need to avoid it. Even if the sovereign of the Eventide wanted to kill him, he would still have to pay a terrible price. The victor would not be determined until the very end. Even if he died, he would tear off a few pieces of flesh from the sovereign of the Eventide. So what if you are a peerless fiend emperor? If I don't want to live, I'll poke a hole in the sky. His mouth did not show any signs of weakness, carrying with it the will of an emperor. He spoke word by word, like a decree of the heavenly Tao. Heavenly Emperor's canopy. The seven-colored canopy trembled violently. From the furnace of the celestial emperor, a steady stream of energy was channeled into the canopy. From the canopy, rays of light that seemed to materialize hung down. It enveloped the entire chariot. Sovereign of the Eventide, I'll fight you. Tion's figure appeared out of thin air. Under the reality, illusion divine ability, one could only flee and could not attack. The canopy of the heavenly emperor opened, and he left the illusion without hesitation. His 11,000-foot-tall body emitted a dazzling divine light. Every inch of his flesh was filled with explosive power. His black hair danced crazily behind him, emitting endless majesty. The heavenly punishment divine eye instantly opened on Shao Chen's forehead. The power of the divine eye breaking divine eye quickly scanned the surroundings. Nothing in the surroundings could escape the detection of his divine eyes. Any falsehood would be revealed in its true form under the divine eye. In an instant, he saw a figure on the left wearing black tights and a pitch-black cloak. The cloak was covered with a layer of cloth that covered his face and even part of his body. He was a little thin and small, and it looked like his body was perfectly integrated with the darkness. His god's eye suddenly caught sight of this figure, and in his hands, he held two blood-colored demonic blades that were nearly identical. On the demonic blades, there were mysterious blood-colored runes. They gave off a bloodthirsty glow. On his body, there was a charm of darkness. Demon Slayer. Tion did not even think as he thrust the Demon Slayer battle spear in his right hand toward the sovereign of the Eventide's heart at lightning speed. It was so fast that one could only catch a glimpse of a resplendent silver arc in midair. Fast, ruthless, accurate. It was almost at the pinnacle of combat techniques. In the blink of an eye, it appeared in front of the sovereign of the Eventide. Ding! However, what looked like a sure kill strike was blocked by a blood-colored demonic blade that was launched later than the sovereign of the Eventide. At the same time, the demonic blade on the left suddenly slashed towards the demon slayer battle spear at lightning speed. The blade followed the blade and attacked D. Shurtion like a ghost. On the demonic blade, there was a strange, spiraling force that constantly tore apart the battle spear, wearing down the strength contained within the battle spear. A resplendent sanguine beam slashed towards D. Shurtion's neck. D. Shurtion felt the feedback of strength from the battle spear. The strength contained the darkest and purest bloodthirsty killing intent. It brought with it an endless sharpness that nearly caused the web between his thumb and forefinger to tremble. However, he did not panic. He spat out a force in his hand, and with a flick of his wrist, the battle spear vibrated at an astonishing frequency, shattering the void around the battle spear. It tore apart the blood-colored blade that was stuck to the battle spear, and in an instant, the battle spear was held horizontally in front of the blood-colored blade. The sovereign of the Eventide's assassination technique had reached its peak. The moment he saw D. Shurtion change his move, he did not hesitate to twist his wrist and draw a perfect arc in mid-air, dodging the battle spear. Once again, he stabbed out at an astonishing speed. At the same time, the demonic blade in his right hand silently disappeared, leaving behind a shocking killing intent in mid-air. Dang! Sakura raised Tiger Soul almost instinctively and blocked it in front of his chest. A devil blade instantly pierced the Tiger Soul saber and actually left a terrifying saber mark on the saber. Even the superior-grade, Earth-ranked Tiger Soul was nearly penetrated by the blade. This strike was clearly ruthless. Furthermore, the sovereign of the Eventide was like a monarch in the darkness. His footsteps had reached an unbelievable level. Every step he took was like a dancer in the darkness. There was a beautiful melody to it that was extremely wondrous. Since his strike had failed, he did not waste any time. With a twist of his body, his left hand slashed towards D. Shurtion's neck with an arc of light. And at this moment, the sovereign of the Eventide was only an abnormally short distance away from him. Through his eyes, he could vaguely see the appearance under the cloak. Nice one. When D. Shurtion saw the sovereign of the Eventide's distance, he was delighted instead of being alarmed. He let out a cold shout. Activating the extreme Emperor indestructible body, 9 indestructible divine rings appeared from his flesh and blood. At the same time, indestructible obsessions swept out in all directions from the divine rings. Sorrow, fear, joy, anger, and other emotions intertwined as they surged towards the sovereign of the Eventide. This desire was nearly unstoppable. Even though the sovereign of the Eventide had reached the level of a fiend emperor and had an extremely firm will, he was still invaded by the obsessions. His body involuntarily paused for a moment, as if his mind was being pulled into a state of lust. However, he immediately suppressed it with his powerful will. However, this momentary loss of consciousness was enough. Immediately, the heaven's punishment divine eye opened between his brows and shot out a purplish-gold divine beam with a thunderous momentum. The divine beam was so fast that even the sovereign of the Eventide could not dodge it. Furthermore, he was being invaded by his desire, causing him to lose consciousness for a moment. Once he lost consciousness, there was no way for him to dodge. The divine beam inevitably landed on his body. Karma mirror, yin-yang mirror. The sovereign of the Eventide could not help but exclaim. When the divine beam landed on his body, a black and white mirror immediately appeared in front of him. In the yin-yang mirror, mysterious scenes rapidly appeared. The various things that the sovereign of the Eventide had experienced, including the various massacres, were clearly presented in the mirror. It also transformed into a mysterious energy that returned to his body. Zong! A blood-like red flame appeared on the sovereign of the Eventide's body. The flames intertwined together, forming a lifelike 9th-grade red lotus. It emitted the mysterious red lotus karmic fire that burned his body. Red lotus karmic fire. The sovereign of the Eventide's voice was filled with a baffling horror. Clearly, he knew what sort of flame it was. This was negative karma. Even he could not ignore it. The karmic fire contained a terrifying flame that could burn one's soul. Those with heavy negative karma would have their souls burned to the point that not even dregs were left. Oomph. Be a good boy and enjoy the taste of the karmic fire. Tian saw the sovereign of the Eventide retreat at an alarming speed, but he did not pursue. He did not look proud of having forced a fiend emperor to retreat. He knew that this was only temporary. The karmic fire might not be able to take his life. Once he regained his senses, he would definitely be met with a barrage of assassinations. However, all he needed was this short period of time. Celestial Emperor Furnace, all the fiend celestials will fuse into my body. Transform them into flesh and blood power. Tian's clothes fluttered despite the lack of wind. As he stepped on the war chariot, vast amounts of Emperor's dragon essence surged into his body like a tidal wave. One could clearly see countless powerful horned dragons roaming under his skin. The 9 indestructible divine rings crushed his fey body again and again under the propulsion of powerful forces. With every breath, vast amounts of energy would enter his body. Quick, 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 be faster. You must break through to the 10th level. Only then will you have the strength to resist a fiend emperor. Dark urged again and again as he cried out anxiously. Ding, ding, ding. With all his strength, and with a large number of fiend celestials and fiend celestials he had plundered in the furnace, his indestructible emperor body had reached a level of proficiency. Almost without any setbacks, the 9th indestructible divine ring completely condensed into a solid entity amidst a crisp heavenly melody. It transformed into a purplish gold glass color. An indestructible sacred spirit was born. The 9th indestructible divine ring was perfected. However, at the instant it was perfected, the 9 indestructible divine rings came to a standstill and stopped revolving. They did not explode with boundless power to completely crush the fey body as expected. No good. The fiend celestials and the celestial emperor furnace have all been refined. Without sufficient emperor's dragon essence, there is no way for you to reach the 10th level. Affirm your Tao with strength. Shatter the void. Dark had a slight change in expression. Slay fiends. Tian waved his arm and shattered the mystic ice. The primordial 9 dragons pulled the war chariot and charged ferociously at the fiend celestial army. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please visit www.chidian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 972. At this moment, it was like a race of life and death. If he failed to reach the 10th firmament while the sovereign of the Eventide withstood the red lotus hellfire, allowing his body to break free from the shackles of the heaven and earth, allowing his combat strength to match that of a peerless expert, then what awaited him would be the sovereign of the Eventide's continuous barrage of terrifying assassination techniques. He would definitely fall into an indescribable predicament as a result. He might even perish under the sovereign of the Eventide. And at this moment, when he reached the 9th firmament perfection and was about to undergo a metamorphosis to the 10th firmament, all the fiend celestials would be completely refined. The remaining Emperor's dragon essence would not be able to sustain the 9 indestructible divine rings, shatter his fey body, and even condense the 10th indestructible divine ring. This was practically placing oneself in an extremely dangerous situation. Although he could still shatter his body and enter a state of advancement if he forcefully conjured the ultimate Emperor indestructible body, without the abundant Emperor's dragon essence to support him, there was no way he could successfully complete the metamorphosis. When that happened, what awaited him would be the complete collapse of his fey body or even suffering a chi deviation. The energy in his body would explode, causing him to be severely injured. Fiend Celestials. He had to kill a large number of Fiend Celestials. When Tian realized this, he did not even think as he immediately drove his war chariot and charged into the battlefield. The entire heaven-toppling battlefield was split into 3 parts due to the Fey and Fiend Celestial Emperors. One was the lowest-level battlefield where the Fey warriors and the Fiend Celestial army fought. It was vast and boundless, with nearly uncountable numbers. The other was the Sky Demon battlefield, a battlefield at the Heaven Fey level. Finally, it was the battlefield of the Peerless Experts. The 3 battlefields were clearly stratified. But on the battlefield, the lowest-level ordinary battlefield was also the most tragic. The Fiend Celestial army had the advantage in numbers. Even though the Fey charged forward without regard for their own safety, they were still forced to retreat. One Fey warrior after another tragically perished. Their numbers were constantly decreasing. In front of the ocean-like Fiend Celestial army, the Fey race ultimately found it difficult to fend them off alone. Brothers, in order for our descendants to have a place to live and reproduce, we will die with honor. Even if we die, we will make the Fiend Celestials pay a terrible price. Indiscriminate destruction. Kill. At worst, we will perish together with them. Well, have we Fey ever been afraid? Our descendants will be proud of us. Why should I fear death? When the demon warriors ran out of demonic energy and suffered irreparable wounds, they all looked determined. Without any hesitation, they charged at the army of demon gods fearlessly and self-detonated. Groups of demon gods were engulfed in the explosion, and they were minced into pieces. This kind of scene was happening almost every moment. The scene was exceptionally tragic and tragic. But even so, it was still difficult to make up for the disadvantage of the demon race. The demon god army was constantly charging towards the starry battle island. They were getting closer and closer. With every step they took, countless demons would shed their blood. The blue skies were dyed red. This was a monster race using their flesh and blood to fight for a living space for the life forms of the world. Just as the demons continued to be defeated, 9 dragon roars filled with malevolence resounded above the battlefield. A silver-white spear traversed through the void and struck the ferocious army of demon gods. With just one strike, all the demon gods within a radius of several 100,000 feet with the spear as the epicenter were blasted to pieces by the demon-slaying intent contained within the spear. Rumble. The Celestial Emperor's war chariot tore through the void. Wherever it passed, the bodies of the demon gods were sucked into the Celestial Emperor's furnace. In the blink of an eye, the sky full of corpses had disappeared. However, the collapsed void told him that the tragic scene just now was not a dream. It's the Celestial Emperor's war chariot. The heavenly demon from before did not die. He has appeared again. This is great. With him around, the demon race may have hope. War chariot. This is the war chariot. I heard that the various clans wanted to build a Celestial Emperor's war chariot for the demon race. In my opinion, only this war chariot is worthy of the title Celestial Emperor's war chariot. The Emperor's aura emanating from it is just too powerful. Wherever the war chariot goes, no demon can stop it. Although I don't know where the demon lord came from, but just based on his actions of killing countless demon gods and saving countless brothers on the battlefield, even if he cannot be called a demon emperor, he can be called a demon emperor. Demon emperor. That's right. Demon emperor. He is the emperor of the demon race. Demon Emperor D. Shurtion. Countless demon race soldiers, although there were countless wounds on their bodies, were burning in their hearts. They looked at the Celestial Emperor's chariot charging towards the demon god, and Sakura standing on it with blazing eyes. They shouted with the most sincere words. Among them, some demon race soldiers unconsciously called out the honorific title of Demon Emperor. Moreover, in an instant, it made all the demon race soldiers on the battlefield acknowledge it from the bottom of their hearts. Demon Emperor D. Shurtion. Almost imperceptibly, he had left an indelible mark in the hearts of the demons. Kill. D. Shurtion's expression was cold. With an indifferent majesty, the demon slayer battle spear in his hand did not stop at all. He charged into the army of demon gods and attacked again and again. Every attack was as easy as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. A large number of demon gods were smashed into pieces. At the same time, he held the tiger soul in his left hand and swung it in the most simple way. The golden saber light cut down a large number of demon gods on the spot, like cutting grass. And the massive attacks from the demon god army were all blocked by the Celestial Emperor's war chariot. They could not break the defense of the war chariot. 10 million, 20 million, 30 million. Shurtian's current combat strength was comparable to the peak of the heavenly demon realm. With the addition of the Tiger Soul and the Demon Slayer Battle Spear, every attack was as easy as crushing dry weeds. Wherever it passed, it was invincible. No demon god could stop the war chariot's attack. It was like the Emperor of Slaughter on the battlefield. Unstoppable. Every time a group of demon gods was killed, the aura on the Celestial Emperor's war chariot grew stronger. In the end, it was like a flood that broke the dam. The war chariot was evenly matched with the entire demon god army. It was not at a disadvantage. That scene was almost unimaginable. His heart was as cold as steel as he killed crazily. Once he let go, he started killing. It was almost unimaginable. In just a moment, hundreds of millions of demon gods were killed. All the flesh and blood were plundered into the Celestial Emperor's furnace. The entire furnace was filled to the brim. Celestial Emperor's furnace refined the demon gods. Emperor's dragon essence, pour into my body. Immortal Emperor, shatter the vacuum. When Shurtian sensed the vast number of demon gods in the furnace, he finally stopped his killing. Without hesitation, he shouted. The entire furnace started refining at an unprecedented speed. The bodies of the demon gods were quickly refined into pure Emperor's dragon essence. Within the furnace, one could see tiny purple-gold true dragons converging endlessly like a tide, forming an ocean of numbers. Roar, roar, roar. In the war chariot, one could faintly hear the domineering roar of a dragon. It was continuous and undulating. The war chariot shook. Countless Emperor's dragon essence spewed out from the furnace and poured into Shurtian's body. Outside his body, it had solidified into 9 purplish-gold-colored immortal divine rings. With the support of this huge amount of dragon essence, it was as if it had endless power. Immediately, it started spinning in a clockwise direction. Kacha! The demon body was unbelievably strong. It was even harder than crystal iron. Even if a divine weapon hit it, not only would it not be able to cut through, but it would also make a sound of metal clashing. At this moment, the immortal divine rings rolled over. On the demon body, there were hideous cracks. On the surface, there was a glazed divine light. Bang! Amidst a crisp explosion, the entire body of the demonic beast was instantly crushed to pieces. Flesh and blood collapsed. 129,600 drops of purplish-gold-colored blood essence were formed. Each drop was like a real crystal. It was so strong that it could not be destroyed. It was a perfect hexagonal shape. Each drop was exactly the same. There was not a single flaw. It was crystal clear. Any woman who saw it could not help but fall in love with it. Each drop contained a supreme power that could suppress the heavens. There was endless power in it. Outside each drop of blood essence, there were 9 miniature immortal divine rings revolving around it, emitting a mysterious sound. Vast amounts of Emperor's dragon essence flowed into each drop of blood essence. At the same time, the immortal obsession came one after another. This time, the new obsession was the immortal obsession. Ding! Ding! Sounds of nature could be heard coming from the blood essences as a mysterious power was born from them. Each drop of blood essences vibrated violently as countless divine lights flickered. Countless mysterious Emperor runes appeared within each drop of blood essences. These Emperor runes intertwined together to form a mysterious purple-golden talisman. On the talisman, there was the figure of an immortal saint spirit. This was the Extreme Emperor Talisman. The moment the Emperor Talisman was formed, it naturally emitted a powerful force. It spewed out endless power as if it would never dry up. It was emitting power at every moment. It was the source of power. We can't let him break through again. This demon is a huge threat to our demon god clan. Before he broke through, it was already difficult to keep him in check. If we let him break through again, our demon god army will be severely damaged. Stop him from breaking through. Stop him from breaking through at all costs. We must sacrifice ourselves and activate the forbidden technique, Twilight of the Gods. On the battlefield, countless demon gods saw that Tion was plundering the demon gods and stepping on their flesh to break through again. They were so shocked that their hearts almost jumped out of their chests. They screamed crazily. Some of the demon gods had a fanatical look in their eyes. They all rushed into the sky. Their bodies emitted pitch-black demon flames. Even in the demon flames, their expressions still looked unusually sacred. They were chanting a strange prayer, infinite chaos, eternal life for the demon gods. With my body as a sacrifice, I will become the power of the God Slayer. With my faith, the demon gods will become eternal. Our souls will become the hymn of the fallen demon gods. Twilight of the Gods. Eternal life for the demon gods. One by one, the demon gods sacrificed themselves. All of their power turned into mysterious demon talismans. Within the demon talismans, there was a hymn of death. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 973. Those with tickets, please raise. Every talisman reverberated with a deathly hymn that sounded like the end of the world. Inside the talismans were images of countless gods and demons falling. Countless gods were unable to stop the tide of the times. Under the demonic weapons, they walked into dusk and into destruction. This was the mysterious enlightenment that the demonic god continent had gained from conquering the world. This was the most terrifying and taboo battle technique on the demonic god continent. With a single strike, the gods would enter dusk. However, before the dusk was unleashed, one had to pay a painful price. One by one, the demonic gods sacrificed themselves without hesitation. With their lives as the price, they formed terrifying talismans. In the blink of an eye, billions of demonic gods sacrificed themselves and turned into talismans. Hundreds of millions of talismans quickly gathered above the battlefield in a mysterious trajectory, forming countless vast ancient formations. Countless pairs of eyes watched as the talismans converged together to form an ancient gray bell. Images of countless fallen gods could be seen on the surface of the bell, as well as images of dusk. The aura of death emanated from the bell, as well as the sad beauty of dusk. Dusk of the Gods. This was a death knell that would send the gods into dusk. Dang! The ancient bell rang, causing the surrounding stars to fall and the void to crumble. It was a scene of great destruction. The ancient bell, which was tens of thousands of feet long, slammed straight towards the celestial emperor's chariot. Outside the ancient bell, countless images of the fallen gods appeared. This strike was meant to send a bell to Tion and kill him. This was an attack formed by billions of demonic gods sacrificing their lives. It contained boundless power that could destroy the world. The power contained within would make even a peerless expert's expression change. Dusk of the Gods? Not good. The demon master's expression changed drastically. Looking at the ancient bell, he wanted to stop it. However, the Grotto Heaven Emperor kept him on the battlefield, not giving him a chance to escape. The ancient bell slammed towards the celestial emperor's chariot like a shooting star. The ultimate emperor talisman, the source of power, the undying will, the birth of the divine ring, where the heart reaches the limit of power. Crushing vacuum. In this moment of crisis, Tion remained calm and unhurried as he let out a low shout. Each of the 129,600 drops of quintessence blood produced an ultimate emperor talisman. It was as if the talisman was a source of power, capable of producing endless amounts of godly power. His own strength would never be exhausted. This was something that could only be condensed from body refinement techniques that had touched upon the limits of strength. Every single drop of blood essence was filled with a supreme will, which caused all of the blood essences to follow a mysterious path and converge toward the center. Billions of feet of purple gold divine light soared into the sky. In the godly light, a perfect body filled with infinite power was formed. Purple gold, godly light kept flowing around the body. One could see the extreme king talisman in the body. It exuded boundless power. His pitch-black hair fluttered in the wind. The hair streaked across the void, cutting a crack in space with its sharp edge. It could cut through a vacuum. Even the strands of hair were terrifyingly lethal. Clang, clang, clang. Countless thick chains of law covered every inch of the body. Within the chains of law, a terrifying power of law gushed out unceasingly towards Sakura, as though it wanted to shatter his demonic body. His physical body had reached a level where the heavens and earth could not tolerate it. Even the heavens and earth wanted to destroy him. Break! Tion closed his eyes slightly. He was bound by the net of law like a prisoner bound and bound. Suddenly, his eyes opened, and he calmly uttered a simple word. His voice was filled with boundless faith, an irreversible will. His body shook as if it had suddenly grown taller. On the surface of his skin, mysterious ultimate emperor talismans appeared at the same time. An invisible force rushed into the chains of law binding the monster's body. Clang, 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 clang. The chains of law seemed to have been hit by some kind of unstoppable force and broken to thousands of pieces. In the blink of an eye, the chains that were binding his body had all broken. At the same time, an indescribable sense of freedom emerged from the bottom of his heart. It was as if there were a few mountains pressing down on his body every day, and it was only now that they suddenly disappeared. His body naturally felt like it was free from its shackles and was about to soar into the 9 heavens, free and unfettered. In his body, every bit of power seemed to be able to exert 100%, 200%, or even 300% of his powerful combat strength. A sense of self was constantly growing in his mind. So this is what it feels like to prove one's Tao with strength. The current me is more than 10 times, no, 100 times stronger than before I broke the chains of law. Moreover, there are no more restraints. This feeling of being free from the cage is really amazing. The current me has the real strength to fight against the demon emperor. Tion clenched his fist and casually punched in front of him. Rumble. The void in front of him collapsed on the spot and was shattered. Haha, good, good, good. This is really good. This is your luck, lunatic D. Fortunately, you broke through in the ancient sky-toppling battlefield. At this time, the origin world will give the cultivators who resist the invasion of the demon gods a favor. Not only will it be easier to break through the bottleneck than usual, but it will also be 100 times or even 1,000 times easier to break the chains of law during the breakthrough. It's just a symbolic test. Otherwise, if you prove your Tao with strength, the test of heaven and earth will be even more terrifying than when you break through to become a demon god. Not only will you be punished by the heavens, but even the will of heaven and earth will come to stop you and kill you. If not for today, it would be extremely difficult to prove one's Tao with strength. Ming laughed arrogantly. Tion's current combat strength was comparable to that of a peerless expert. Moreover, his combat strength was so strong that ordinary peerless experts would not be able to contend against him. It was only now that he finally had the strength to move unhindered in the world and settle down. Lunatic D, quickly test your current combat strength and shatter the twilight of the gods. This ancient bell, formed by billions of demon gods, is so powerful that ordinary peerless experts will be killed instantly. Under the protection of heaven and earth, Tion easily broke through the shackles of heaven and earth and proved his Tao with strength. Around him, 10 undying divine rings spun continuously, emitting the heavenly voice of desire. His demonic body reached 12,000 feet. Demon Slayer. He raised the silver-white battle spear in his hand and pointed it at the giant ancient bell in front of him. He slowly uttered 2 words. 129,600 extreme Emperor talismans in his body circulated at the same time, spewing out endless power. They poured into the battle spear. Bang! The Demon Slayer battle spear swung through the void at an unusually slow speed, but it instantly collided with the ancient bell. With just one hit, the ancient bell let out a terrifying roar and erupted with the power of dusk. The surrounding void collapsed instantly. The power that erupted shattered the Demon Slayer battle spear. Second Demon Slayer strike. Tion didn't panic at all. He retracted his arm along with the power that erupted from the ancient bell. Immediately after, the second attack blasted out. This attack was unusually restrained, as if it was simple and unadorned. Everywhere it passed, the void didn't collapse at all. It was just a simple attack on the ancient bell. Crack! The ancient bell let out another roar, shattering the battle spear. However, a terrifying crack appeared on the bell. Third Demon Slayer strike. Bang! With this attack, the entire battle spear seemed to come alive. Countless figures appeared on the surface of the battle spear, emitting the hymn of Demon Slayer. Once again, it blasted the ancient bell. This time, the power that erupted from the battle spear caused the space under the spear to unavoidably shatter with a loud bang. On the ancient bell, cracks appeared one after another, quickly covering the entire bell at an astonishing speed. In an instant, it shattered into billions of fragments. They burst out in all directions. It completely exploded. Everywhere it went, the hundreds of thousands of miles of the battlefield fell into the mighty power of the twilight of the gods. The void collapsed, and the stars collapsed. The space was collapsing in a terrifying manner. The Heavenly Emperor's war chariot and Tion were among them. In the void, countless scenes of the twilight of the gods appeared. Gods with broken wings, war gods with broken arms, broken battle swords, incomplete god bodies. It carried the aura of doomsday. Everything would be annihilated. After a long while, it finally calmed down. In the center, the majestic war chariot still stood tall. Tian's face was chiseled like a knife. On his body, a pitch-black emperor's robe set off an unparalleled aura. The twilight of the gods just now was broken. Haha, good, using strength to prove the Tao. Our demon clan has another demon god. The howling moon wolf reverend laughed a few times and said happily, "That's right, using strength to prove the Tao is indeed unparalleled. Even the twilight of the gods can be broken by force. However, you use strength to prove the Tao, and your primordial spirit has yet to be perfected. You haven't cultivated the immortal primordial spirit, so your primordial spirit is your flaw. If your primordial spirit is damaged, you're in danger of dying." The demon master could not help but nod in agreement amidst the intense battle. Tion, your present combat strength can match that of a peerless expert. Quickly go to the chaos. The chaos is the battlefield that truly decides victory. Every demon god is an irreplaceable combat strength. Vermilion Bird Fairy shouted. In the previous strike, she acknowledged Tian's strength. He had already treated him as an equal. "I'll go to the chaos, but I have to kill the sovereign of the Eventide first." Tion pricked up his brows. It was never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. However, he was not a gentleman. He was an emperor. An emperor could take revenge at any time and place. In the previous assassination attempt, he had already placed the sovereign of the Eventide on his must-kill list. Now that he had broken through, he did not hesitate to immediately launch a counterattack. The Heavenly Emperor's war chariot turned around and whizzed towards a dark region. Lunatic D, you have to carefully protect your essence spirit in the future. Your essence spirit is not immortal. That is your greatest weakness. Although your combat strength can match a demon god, you are not at the true demon god realm. Ming also secretly reminded him, "With the demon refining cauldron protecting my essence spirit, unless one is good at essence spirit attacks, there might not be many that can threaten me." Tion was already prepared for this. To be continued. If you wish to know what will happen next, please visit www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support genuine reading. Chapter 974. Since he had embarked on the path of using strength to prove his Tao, he had already considered everything clearly in his heart. This was the only way to possess combat strength comparable to a Fey god in this war. Although this was going to the extreme, it would leave a huge flaw in his body. Without an immortal primordial spirit, once his primordial spirit was severely damaged, his body would suffer irreparable damage. However, with the demon refining cauldron, ordinary attacks would not be able to break through its defenses. On the whole, the hidden dangers and flaws of one's body were not irreparable. As long as he could raise his will to spirit focus in the future, he would be able to condense it into a physical body. Then, he would break through the shackles and form the eternal primordial spirit, truly becoming a supreme Yao celestial. Coupled with the fact that he had proven his Tao through strength, he was practically a demon god who had proven his Tao twice. When the two merged into one, it was definitely more powerful than two demon gods added together. At that time, Tion, who had confirmed his Tao twice, would be a heaven-defying existence among the peerless powerhouses. Sovereign of the Eventide, today, you will be the first fiend emperor I have killed after affirming my Tao through strength. Tian's imperial might was overwhelming. He had proven his Tao through strength. Around him, the 10 immortal divine rings revolved around him, creating a beautiful sound. They collided with each other, creating a boundless force that made him look even more sacred and inviolable. The immemorial 9 dragons were even more excited, as if they were supported by boundless strength. They pulled the celestial emperor's chariot towards the darkest part of the battlefield. Between his brows, the heavenly punishment divine, I was like the coldest heavenly Tao, flashing with sparkling and translucent purple gold light. It spat out an endless amount of pressure. As he scanned the world, it was as if nothing could escape the gaze of his divine eyes. In that dark area, a thin figure was silently hiding in the void. The concealment was so brilliant that even a peerless expert would not be able to detect it. This was what the sovereign of the Eventide relied on to deter peerless experts with his assassination. Imagine a concealment technique that even a peerless expert would not be able to detect. If he were to sneak in and deliver a thunderous strike, even a Fey god would be assassinated on the spot, or even die. However, in front of the heaven punishment god, such a method of hiding was as clear as day. Devil Slayer. The celestial arch war chariot left behind a purplish gold flame as it instantly appeared 5,000 miles away from the sovereign of the Eventide. Tian's battle spear was filled with boundless might as it struck at the sovereign of the Eventide's chest. Clang! The sovereign of the Eventide had just managed to withstand the red lotus hellfire in his body. When he saw the demon vanquishing spear coming at him, his pitch-black eyes emitted a cold beam. The Heaven Destroyer demonic blade in his left hand instantly drew out a beautiful blood-colored arc of light. With an indescribable trajectory, the blade's edge clashed with the tip of the battle spear. Bang! At this moment, Tion had proven his Tao through strength. He had condensed the extreme Emperor Thar's charm in his body. His strength was so strong that no one among the peerless experts could match him. The battle spear's strength was almost unstoppable. It was not something the sovereign of the Eventide could withstand. However, the sovereign of the Eventide was indeed the king of assassins in the Eventide. His assassination techniques, offensive techniques, and control of his body and strength had reached an unbelievable level. On the incomplete Heaven Demon Blade, a strange and gentle energy flowed out. It was as if a vortex had appeared on the blade. The blade was constantly vibrating in a strange rhythm. The surrounding space was crumbling inch by inch. The strength that was transmitted from the battle spear was forcefully dissipated by it. He took graceful steps like a dancer. With a turn of his body, he suddenly transformed into an ethereal black shadow. It was as if he had crossed the boundaries of space and appeared in front of the celestial Thearcha's war chariot. Eventide Void Steps. It was the Eventide Void Steps from the Eventide Void demonic tome, the cornerstone secret technique of the Eventide race. A single step could traverse the endless void. The moment he appeared, the sovereign of the Eventide immediately twisted his wrist. The earth-deficient demonic blade in his right hand stabbed towards Shurtian's heart. The incomplete heaven demon blade in his left hand trembled slightly, transforming into thousands of demonic blades. Instantly, they covered numerous vital points on his body. Every blade seemed to be corporeal. There was no illusory quality to them. They exuded a chilling, killing intent. Limitless sharpness, unparalleled killing intent. However, the strongest killing intent was contained within the blades that filled the sky. It was unfathomable. Nice one. It's a good opportunity to test how powerful I have become with my indestructible divine rings. Indra's tiger-like eyes glared as divine beams shot out from his eyes. They pierced holes in the void, causing it to constantly collapse. Seeing the sovereign of the Eventide's assassination techniques, not only did he show no fear, he even had a supreme belief that he wanted to compete with him. He did not dodge the demonic blades that were coming at him. Around him, the 10 indestructible divine rings were like the 10 halo-shaped enchanted treasures. They were so condensed that they seemed corporeal. They emitted a purplish gold divine light as countless mysterious runes swirled around them. They intertwined with a mysterious charm that seemed to be able to withstand all attacks. Using strength to prove one's Tao, the 10 indestructible divine rings also instantly became several times stronger. This was the extremity of strength. Raising his arm, the demon vanquishing battle spear blasted to his side at lightning speed. Although the sovereign of the Eventide was hidden in the void, he still could not escape his divine eyes. Ding, ding, ding. Instantly, a series of crisp explosions could be heard on the battlefield. Streaks of blade light landed on the inextinguishable divine ring. Every single blade contained an astonishing amount of killing power. Although they hadn't felt it before, the moment they collided with their target, their killing power would immediately erupt. It poured down on the divine rings. Among them, the 10th newly born divine ring only lasted for a few seconds before it shattered. However, the other 9 were extremely resilient. All the blades were shattered. Only when the 2 demonic blades, Tiancan and Deke, came crashing down did they shatter 2 divine rings. The remaining 7 divine rings immediately shattered the demonic blades. The indestructible divine rings were so strong that even the sovereign of the Eventide was unable to shatter them in one strike. Using strength to prove one's Tao, one's strength was endless. The might of the indestructible divine rings was extremely powerful. Boom! Sakura's battle spear struck the void, shattering it. However, the sovereign of the Eventide's body was unimaginably strange. With a twist of his body, he dodged the battle spear as though he was naturally dodging it. However, Shurtian was not disappointed. With a twist of his wrist, the battle spear trembled and swept towards the sovereign of the Eventide. However, the sovereign of the Eventide used void steps once again to dodge in a strange manner. You won't be able to escape. In between Shurtian's brows, his divine eyes shot out a seemingly corporeal divine beam. The moment the divine beam appeared, it immediately split into 5, each of the 5 elements. They condensed into 5 divine feathers that reached into the heavens. They fanned out and swept towards the void in front of him. Heavenly Punishment Divine Eye, 5-color divine beam. The 5-color divine beam covered an area of hundreds of thousands of miles. Inside it, the origins of the 5 elements were constantly circulating. Wherever the divine beam passed, terrifying ripples would appear in space. It was constantly distorted, producing countless spatial illusions. Everything that was enveloped by the divine beam had nowhere to hide as they were ground to death by the divine beam. The divine beam covered an extremely wide area. Even some of the fiend celestials were enveloped by the divine beam. Wherever the divine beam passed, large swathes of fiend celestials were swept in. Under the powerful origins of the five elements, they were swept into the five-element disk and were instantly suppressed. Five-colored divine beam. The sovereign of the Eventide's figure was forced out of the void by the divine beam. When he appeared in the distorted space, a void of darkness appeared around him. His entire body seemed to transform into a source of darkness. His surroundings instantly turned pitch black, as though a black curtain had covered a large area. It was like a powerful domain. Curtain of the dark heavens. Once this divine power is used, darkness will descend and connect with the heaven and earth. Anything that enters its range, including energy, will be devoured and assimilated by the darkness. When Ming saw this, he warned, "Boom, boom, boom." The five-color divine beam could be considered a heaven-defying divine power. The cycle of the five elements contained infinite power. When the five divine beams of light intertwined, even the void would be ground to pieces. The swaying stars. It swept through everything and instantly appeared in front of the dark canopy. It swept towards the canopy, and immediately, the pitch-black canopy began to produce strange ripples under the divine beam. However, the divine beam's power seemed to be constantly devoured and worn down by the darkness. It was unable to completely tear through the dark canopy. All it did was distort strangely like ripples. Dark canopy? In front of annihilation, all canopies are nothing but illusions. Deshirtion only sneered. The divine eye shot out a resplendent divine beam once again. It blasted towards the dark canopy. Heavenly punishment divine eye annihilation. Rumble. The annihilation divine light represented destruction, great annihilation. It contained the will to annihilate everything. Everything, even the void, would be destroyed. It blasted into the dark canopy. The purplish gold divine beam covered the entire canopy and intertwined with the darkness. There was an intense collision. Immediately, one could clearly see large swathes of darkness distorting at a speed visible to the naked eye under the divine light. Then they crumbled into dust. The canopy was constantly dispersing. The divine light of annihilation tore through the canopy in an unstoppable manner. Pwah! The king of darkness's body was blasted out of the darkness by the will of annihilation. A mouthful of pitch-black demonic blood spewed out of his mouth. His body felt like it had been struck by lightning. He was severely injured. Escape. Without any hesitation, the king of the Eventide's body flashed and hid in the void. He escaped at an unbelievable speed. He was an assassin, a killer. He was the king of the night. He was not best at frontal combat. What he was best at was lurking in the dark and waiting for an opportunity to strike. Although his assassination techniques were extremely exquisite, he felt completely suppressed in front of Deshirtion. His assassination techniques could not even be shattered by the indestructible divine ring in one strike. His concealment divine powers were completely useless in front of Deshirtion. Even his void assassination techniques were useless. All of his methods were unable to produce a fatal outcome on Deshirtion. Aggrieved. The king of the Eventide felt extremely aggrieved. But at this moment, he wisely began to escape. Assassins were not gentlemen. It was common for them to flee thousands of miles away if they failed to kill their target. Try to escape? Deshirtion sneered and said, "King of the Eventide, since I said I would take your life today, I will definitely not let you live until tomorrow. If you ascend to the heavens, I'll chase you to the heavens. If you descend to the earth, I'll follow you. Today, even if I have to exhaust all means, you will definitely die." The celestial arch war chariot chased after the king of the Eventide at an astonishing speed. With the divine eye, the king of the Eventide had nowhere to hide. No matter how he changed directions, he could not escape Deshirtion's pursuit. Finally, the king of the Eventide headed straight for the chaos. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please log on to www.chijian.com. Support the author. Support legal reading. Chapter 975. Even if you escape to the chaos, I swear to kill you. D. Shirtion pursued relentlessly from behind. Wherever he went, he would kill any fiend celestials he encountered. Cold shouts reverberated throughout the battlefield. In the eyes of countless heaven, fae, and fiend celestials, they saw with their own eyes a black beam of light escaping at an astounding speed. His body constantly shuttled through the void as though he was teleporting. No heaven fae could capture his trajectory. And behind him, the primordial 9 dragons were pulling the purplish-gold celestial Arch war chariot. They were like a gigantic purplish-gold sun as they pursued relentlessly. D. Shirtion, who was dressed in black imperial robes, exuded a vast suppressive might that could repress the heavens. He was like an emperor that could not be disobeyed. Just a glance at him gave one the illusion that the entire world was revolving around him. He was so noble that it made one involuntarily have the urge to kneel down. Fey Emperor. This is a Fey Emperor of our Fey race. He is actually pursuing a peerless fiend celestial. His Majesty, the Fey Emperor, can actually defeat a fiend celestial and even chase him around like a dog. Heavens, how astounding is that Fey Emperor's combat strength? Could it be that our Fey race has another Fey god? A Fey Emperor? No, I think we can even call him a Fey Arch. On the Fey side, all of their faces were filled with indescribable glory. They felt extremely proud. Even a fiend celestial was being chased around. The experts of our Fey race were in no way inferior to your fiend celestial continent. They exuded a deep sense of pride from the bottom of their hearts. There seemed to be infinite power surging within their bodies. How is that possible? That is the sovereign of the Eventide. The sovereign of the Eventide is being pursued? No, this can't be real. A sovereign can even assassinate a peerless expert. How can he be pursued? This is fake. It's just a fantasy. Everything is fake. It must be a method the Fey race came up with to attack us fiend celestials. They are heading toward the chaos. The fiend celestials were in a state of disbelief. The sovereign of the Eventide's fame was a deterrent to the entire fiend celestial continent. Everyone knew of him. His concealment and assassination methods had reached an unbelievable level. Now, he was actually being hunted down. If this were to spread, it would be hard to believe. Their minds were in a state of disbelief. Rumble. The Celestial Emperor's war chariot traversed the starry sky, unstoppable. Crack. Unable to escape, the sovereign of the Eventide waved his hand and tore open the void, creating a gigantic rift. In the rift was an extremely chaotic passageway, and at the end of the passageway was endless chaos. With a sway of his body, he directly entered and fled into the primal chaos. The primordial 9 dragons were not afraid at all. They also waved their dragon claws and tore the void apart. They pulled the war chariot and chased after the primordial chaos. The chaotic energy couldn't even get close to D. Shirtion before it was shattered by the war chariot. The battlefield. The primal chaos was the battlefield that truly determined victory and defeat. It was the battle between the 3 juggernauts and the 9 demon ancestors. The peerless experts of the various races of the origin world, the supreme demon gods of the demon race, and the unparalleled demon emperors of the demon god continent. Everything was going on in the chaos. Only the chaos could allow them to kill to their heart's content. They could unleash their overwhelming combat strength without any qualms. After all, if they were to fight in the origin world, the origin worlds would be of great help and protection to the peerless experts of the origin world. As for the fiend celestials, the suppression of the heaven and earth shackles was enough to reduce a fiend celestial's combat strength severalfold. The ancient races were afraid of damaging the origin world, while the fiend celestials were afraid of being suppressed. Entering the chaos and using the chaos as a battlefield was an irreversible trend. Chaos world. It was the mother of all things. The chaos aura was the source of all things. Be it the origin world or the demon god continent, they were all born from the chaos. In the chaos, there were countless fortuitous encounters, but there were also countless dangers. The chaos was vast and boundless. Even the juggernauts could not tell how vast the chaos was. In short, no one had ever found the boundaries of the chaos world. In the chaos world, there was chaos aura everywhere. It was also known as the mother of all things. It had a terrifying power that could assimilate everything. It could constantly devour energy. If one's cultivation level was insufficient, they would not be able to directly absorb the chaos aura when they enter the chaos. Instead, it was possible for their bodies to disintegrate, becoming a part of the chaos. Typically, those who had not reached the level of a peerless expert would face the danger of dying at any time when they entered the chaos. Furthermore, the chaos was not peaceful. Chaos storms would appear from time to time. Even a peerless expert would face the danger of dying if they were swept in. If they encountered certain violent chaos aura, their bodies would be torn to shreds. Therefore, even if the chaos was filled with fortuitous encounters and luck, allowing one to find connate numinous treasures or even connate cardinal treasures, there was a greater chance of dying in the chaos. All this time, very few cultivators dared to enter the chaos unless absolutely necessary. Sovereign of the Eventide, where do you think you're going? A cold rebuke suddenly resounded in the chaos. The Sovereign of the Eventide charged into the chaos like a bolt of lightning as he rapidly fled forward. His figure was constantly changing, making it impossible to predict his movements. Heaven's samsara, ultimate emperor immortality. Kill. He had to kill the Sovereign of the Eventide and become the first fiend emperor he had killed after his breakthrough. Regardless of where he went, he had to kill him. Escape? Where can you escape to? Tion charged into the chaos as the vast chaos aura was automatically repelled by the celestial, the Arch-War Chariot. It did not cause any damage to him. Without a second thought, a beam of light flashed above his head as the bell of heaven's samsara rapidly appeared. It began to vibrate violently. Dang! The ancient bell had countless scrolls that looked lifelike. After becoming a superior grade connate numinous treasure, the ancient bell's strength had become even more powerful. With this vibration, it immediately emitted a loud, ancient bell chime. The surrounding chaos aura churned violently as it was constantly shattered by the vibrations, turning into earth, fire, water, and wind. It presented the scene of a new world being created. A bell chime that resembled the heavens' samsara instantly reverberated in every direction. Crystalline light spread out like waves as countless illusory images of the wheel of samsara appeared. The sound of samsara poured into one's mind from every orifice. No good. The Sovereign of the Eventide felt his mind go into a trance, as though he had fallen into an endless cycle of samsara. His body unknowingly turned sluggish as he paused in the chaos. Immediately following that, he felt a terrifying obsession surge into his body. It made it even harder for his mind to recover. Even if he was a monarch in an assassination attempt, he still could not avoid being affected. In an intense battle, even a tiny bit of influence could affect the entire battle situation. Ong, ong, ong. When the primordial 9 dragons saw the prey in front of them come to a halt, they immediately gave chase in excitement. Their speed became even faster. At the same time, the war chariot's dragon essence was constantly injected into their bodies, greatly increasing their speed. Rumble. Tion stood on the war chariot as he raised his arm high. He held the war chariot horizontally, and with the war chariot's momentum, he instantly struck at the Sovereign of the Eventide in a domineering manner. 9. Devil Slayer strikes. 1 strike. 2 strikes. 3 strikes. 4 strikes. Countless sentient beings appeared from the war chariot as they converged into a sea and a torrent. Countless devil-slaying cries transformed into a torrent of wills that accompanied the war chariot as it sent out an unstoppable judgment. In front of this will, any fiend celestial would be crushed. Being pierced by the war chariot would result in judgment. With Deshurtian's combat strength, the chaos was in a frenzy as it constantly collapsed, transforming into countless chaotic forces. Countless worlds appeared and were destroyed in a cycle. This strike was like a bolt of lightning. The sovereign of the Eventide was assaulted by the voice of samsara and the indestructible obsessions. He lost his mind, and momentarily, he only had the time to raise the heaven imperfections and earth asunder and cross them in front of him to block. Kacha! However, such a block was like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. The two demonic blades were instantly blasted apart as the war chariot instantly stabbed into his chest with an indomitable aura. The vast devil slaying will contained within the war chariot instantly blasted into his demonic body. With the wills of sentient beings gathered together, the power was immense. Even a fiend arch could not withstand it. Bam! The entire demonic body was pulverized by the war chariot's power, turning into a blob of flesh and blood. However, the flesh and blood did not die. Instead, it rapidly gathered together as though it had a life of its own. In a blink of an eye, it formed a demonic body. Devil slaying. Without waiting for the sovereign of the Eventide to be reborn, the war chariot pulverized the flesh and blood once again. However, the flesh and blood did not gather together. Instead, they frantically escaped in every direction. With the fiend Thearka's powers, as long as he escaped, even a drop of his demonic blood could allow him to be reborn from a single drop of blood. Heavens of Samsara seal. In the chaos, the bell of Samsara rapidly devoured the endless chaos gases around it. In a blink of an eye, it became extremely massive. With a violent tremble, it blasted out the heavens of Samsara's powers. It emitted a boundless devouring force that sucked all the flesh and blood into the ancient bell. The massive heavens of Samsara's powers produced countless seals, preventing a single strand of flesh and blood from escaping. Deshurtian extended his hand to grab the ancient bell and sent it into the underworld prison. He said, "Underworld, guard him. Think of a way to force him to reveal his demonic techniques. You have to squeeze him dry of all his value." "Ha, lunatic arch, that's great. Fiend arch, my underworld prison can actually imprison a fiend arch. What a supreme honor." Underworld was so excited that he could not control himself as he laughed maniacally. This is the chaos battlefield. Deshurtian took action one after another, suppressing sovereign of the Eventide. Only then did he have the opportunity to survey his surroundings. With the power of his divine eye, he could see a vast region. Upon seeing it, his body could not help but jolt. 100 Ghosts Parade Portrait, Ghost Arch, Brother Fongdu, 365 Stellar Fiends Sealing Tombstones, Astral Emperor, Shadowless Phantom, Patriarch of the Shadow Clan, Door of Myriad Tribulations Patriarch, Three-Eyed Divine Race. Sweeping his gaze across the chaos, he saw that there were battlefields everywhere. There were many that he had heard of and those that he had never heard of. All of them were engaged in an intense battle with the fiend thearchs of the fiend celestial continent. In the chaos, there were constant explosions as earth, fire, water, and wind erupted crazily. And in the deepest depths, there were 12 terrifying existences fighting each other. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please visit www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original. Chapter 976. 3 Hegemons, 9 Fiend Patriarchs. Deshurtian's eyes couldn't help but contract violently. In his mind, he almost instantly guessed at their identities. Just the shockwaves from the battle between these 12 covered tens of millions of kilometers of primordial chaos. Within that area, the primordial chaos was violently roiling. At every moment, countless streams of earth, fire, water, and wind were roiling about, creating numerous worlds of various sizes. These worlds were vast and boundless. But as soon as they were born, they were instantly shattered by the destructive power of the battle. The battle was so fierce that not even the most powerful experts were able to enter it. The chief sovereign of fate, the Fiend Lord, the chief sovereign of space. They're fighting against the 9 fiend patriarchs. Hell, seeing this, couldn't help but widen his eyes and watch unblinkingly. The chief sovereign of fate and the other 2 were clearly at a disadvantage. Their figures were clearly in a rather sorry state. However, they were still able to firmly suppress the 9 fiend patriarchs. Tion used his divine eye to completely imprint the appearances of the 3 chief sovereigns and the 9 fiend patriarchs in his mind. He saw that the chief sovereign of fate was dressed in a long violet robe, upon which countless images seemed to flicker. At times, flowers, trees, mountains, rivers would appear. At other times, beasts would appear. Billions of living creatures would appear. At other times, the stars, the sun, and the moon would appear. At virtually every moment, the images were constantly changing, without the slightest hint of being fixed. It seemed as though countless threads of fate had wove together to form a long robe. His figure was tall and slender, and he naturally exuded an extraordinary aura. His long violet hair cascaded down his back, fluttering in the wind. It was as though they were traces of fate. He looked to be in his 20s, but he exuded an indescribable aura of vicissitudes. His violet eyes seemed to be able to see through the workings of fate. This was the divine eye of fate. It naturally emanated an ethereal, transcendent aura. He held a violet book in his hand. This was the heavenly tome of fate. In his right hand, he held a violet scepter of fate. Beneath his feet, a vast river of fate surged forward. He gave off the feeling that everything about him was within the grasp of fate. Xian, the ruler of fate's face, was shrouded in a layer of mist that prevented others from seeing his true face. It was as if his appearance was constantly changing. Those with weaker cultivations couldn't even see his true appearance. However, Tion was still able to see his true appearance through his divine eye. However, he couldn't help but frown. The Lord of Fate was actually quite similar to Xian. However, Xian did not have that kind of charm on him. Could it be that Xian really is related to the Master of Fate and is his bloodline descendant? Tion guessed as a strange thought flashed through his mind. Then, he looked at the Devil Master. Unlike the Sovereign of Fate's aura of transcendence and transcendence, the Fiend Lord was dressed in a long, pitch-black robe. Countless images of devils could be seen on the surface of his robe, and layers of devilish tattoos could be seen. Each of these tattoos contained profound devilish arts, and just by looking at them, one could comprehend a supreme devilish art and make a breakthrough. His body was abnormally tall and sturdy. His muscles were distributed in the most perfect way from head to toe. His entire body exuded an invisible, domineering aura. Standing there, he gave off a feeling of supremacy, an aura that brooked no disobedience. His features were chiseled, and he exuded a cold aura. Between his eyebrows was a mysterious demonic mark that exuded a vast demonic aura. He wore a pair of pitch-black gloves on his hands. Looking at those gloves, it was as if one's mind was about to be sucked in. His devilish hair danced wildly in the wind, displaying his arrogance. This is the Fiend Lord. He actually looks very similar to Ziyue. Could it be that he has some kind of mysterious connection with Ziyue? Tion had another thought. As for the Space Sovereign, he was actually an old man. He wore a silvery white robe, and around him, countless dimensions were constantly being destroyed and reborn. He held a silvery white book in his hand. It was a book of space. A mysterious silvery white scroll appeared above his head. Within the scroll, there were scenes of countless dimensions. Countless spatial rifts flickered within the scroll, as if there were countless spatial corridors within. There was also a mysterious 33-layered pagoda. In his right hand, he held a mysterious scepter. From head to toe, he had numerous supreme treasures. Book of Space, Space-Time Mirage, Space-Time Pagoda. It said that he even has a set of spatial doors. This space sovereign is the one with the most supreme treasures among the three hegemons. Dark secretly clicked his tongue. For a hegemon to notice any one of these items, they were treasures at the level of connate cardinal treasures. Any one of them could repress the myriad worlds. Tion took a deep look at them before sweeping his gaze towards the other 9 fiend ancestors. Of the 9 fiend ancestors, 5 were men and 4 were women. They were the lawless fiend ancestor, the no-sky demon ancestor, the formless fiend ancestor, the fateless fiend ancestor, the fallen fiend ancestor, the heart-devouring fiend ancestor, the netherworld fiend ancestor, the blood-hell fiend ancestor, and the annihilation fiend ancestor. Tion charged straight into the chaos and instantly repressed the sovereign of the eventide with lightning speed. This series of actions was extremely eye-catching even in the chaos battlefield. It attracted countless gazes. Even the hegemons and fiend ancestors, who were engaged in battle, swept their gazes over him. He actually corroborated his Tao through strength, allowing his combat strength to match that of a peerless expert. Is this a body-tempering cultivation technique? He actually fused the Emperor's Tao with the power of desire to form such a wondrous technique. He used his Fey body to house the 7 emotions and 6 desires for his own use, and a heaven-grade Fey residence to protect his essence soul. He actually took a shortcut and created such a wondrous book. What terrifying talent! He's a peerless prodigy of the Fey race. The Sovereign of Fate swept his gaze across Tion. Just a glance was enough to see through him completely. A rare look of shock appeared on his face. It is actually not within the grasp of the River of Fate. Even the River of Fate cannot control his fate. No, his aura. He doesn't exist in this space-time. A strange glint flashed in his eyes. This punk has purple moon's aura on him. The Fiend Lord's sharp gaze seemed to pierce through the world. When it landed on Tion, he said coldly, "So he doesn't belong to this space-time. He comes from a future. This is a variable greater than the heavens. Could this be a sign that he has the power to reverse the heavens? Perhaps he will be the hope of the origin world." A strange light appeared on the Space Lord's aged face. He suddenly revealed a look of pleasant surprise. "I see a turning point for the rise of the demonkin in him." The 3 sovereigns seemed to have an inexplicable interest in Indra at the same time. Furthermore, they seemed to see a strange scene from him. However, the expressions of the 9 demon patriarchs all changed at the same time. The lifeless demon patriarch's face flashed with killing intent. "I sense a great threat from this demonkin brat. He will cause immeasurable damage to the demon god continent." The lifeless demon patriarch's eyes flashed coldly. His fate is not part of the River of Fate. He is a great variable. This variable is filled with endless possibilities. We can't let him live. Leave it to me. This demonkin brat corroborated his Tao through strength. His body is so powerful. I'm sure his heart will be even more delicious. An incomparably beautiful woman whose charm was so great that it could cause the downfall of a country revealed an indescribable smile in her eyes, as if she had the power to charm all living things. Her slender, snow-white hands were like the most perfect works of art in the world. They were so beautiful that it was intoxicating. This was the heart-devouring demon patriarch of the 9 demon patriarchs. The corners of the heart-devouring demon patriarch's mouth curled into a smile. Suddenly, he extended his right hand toward Tion in an unusually natural manner. His right hand glowed with a resplendent jade light. His 5 fingers moved slowly, like a blooming lotus flower, releasing an astonishing charm. It was as if it was the most beautiful thing in the world. Looking at it, one's entire mind could not help but be immersed in it, creating a desire of anticipation. It was as if he was willing to sacrifice his life for it. Not good. Seeing that almost perfect jade-like hand, even though Sakura had cultivated the Tao of desire and had passed the test of the realm of desire, he still couldn't help but be in a trance. His entire mind was filled with the shadow of that jade-like hand, and his thoughts had inexplicably stopped. It was as if he had been immobilized. If it was an ordinary cultivator, they would probably be immersed in it forever. They would not even know if their heart was dug out by that jade hand. Even a peerless expert would not be able to resist it. However, Deschertien's mind was strong, and his will was firm. It only took a moment for him to react. When he came back to his senses, he cursed in his heart. Celestial Emperor Canopy, Ultimate Emperor Indestructible Body. However, it was only a moment of distraction before that jade hand appeared in front of him. He didn't even have time to attack. Without even thinking, the Celestial Emperor's canopy immediately scattered countless rays of light. One after another, undying divine rings were born from his flesh at an astonishing speed. Dang, dang, dang. In front of that jade hand, the Celestial Emperor canopy was like a fragile piece of white paper. A crack was easily torn open. The jade hand reached in through the crack and instantly landed on the 10 undying divine rings. The jade hand was like the sharpest demon blade. As the finger moved, it landed on the undying divine rings. The 10th divine ring was crushed on the spot. Then, the remaining 9 divine rings collided violently with the jade hand. They only lasted for a moment before being crushed. Ultimate Emperor Indestructible Body, Endless Growth. Deschertien stood on the Celestial Emperor War Chariot. Light flashed between his eyebrows. His face was filled with determination. The demon ancestor? Even if the demon ancestor wanted to kill him, it would not be that easy. I, Deschertien, will not allow myself to be captured without putting up a fight. In his body, the ultimate Emperor talisman spewed out endless power. They stimulated his flesh and blood. In his flesh and blood, the undying divine rings were born one after another. One divine ring was crushed by the jade hand. Immediately, another divine ring was born from his flesh and blood. Ding, ding. The 10 undying divine rings were born and grew endlessly, circulating endlessly. They circled around his body as if there was no end to them. Each divine ring contained a vast amount of power. They collided violently with the jade hand. Using strength to prove one's Tao allowed one's flesh and blood to reach an unimaginable level. The strength of his flesh and blood was close to that of a sovereign's. With the wonders of the undying divine rings, the jade hand was unable to break through the defense of the divine rings. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 977. The heart-devouring demon ancestor's eyes flashed with a strange light. She exclaimed, "What a miraculous body-refining cultivation method! Using strength to prove your Tao can actually allow your battle prowess to reach such an unimaginable level. The indestructible divine ring grows and multiplies endlessly. If I can't break it with a single strike, I'll be stuck in a deadlock. To think that such an extreme body-refining cultivation method was actually created by you. You're truly a genius. However, the more it's like this, the more I want to eat your heart. It will definitely allow my intelligence to reach a new level." Her red lips parted slightly. Her voice was so soft that it made one feel as if their bones were about to melt. She made people willing to do anything for her. This kind of bewitching technique had reached a level where a single word could subvert all living beings. She was very interested in Deschertien. She smiled sweetly, but her voice was filled with cold, killing intent. She extended her hand and retracted it. If the ultimate Emperor Realm Indestructible Divine ring couldn't be broken with a single strike, then it would be endless. This was a powerful ability that Deschertien had obtained after using strength to prove one's Tao and the ultimate Emperor talisman in his body. If it was in the past, if the divine ring was broken, it would require a huge amount of blood and flesh essence to reform it again. This would be a huge burden to the demonic body. Now that a divine ring was broken, it could be regenerated immediately. With the support of the ultimate Emperor talisman, the indestructible divine ring was truly indestructible. Its strength was more than 10 times or even 100 times stronger. The heart-devouring demon lord retracted her hand. Naturally, it wasn't because she wanted to give up on killing him. Instead, she gathered her strength and said softly, "Star-plucking hand." The star-plucking hand and heart-plucking hand were terrifying demonic techniques that the heart-devouring demon lord used to strike fear into the heavens. "How dare you, heart-devouring bitch!" Deshurtian was an expert of the origin world, but the heart-devouring demon lord didn't care about her reputation and bullied the weak. Moreover, it was obvious that she wanted to kill him. When the three sovereigns saw this, they were instantly enraged. The demon lord opened his eyes and let out a furious roar. Rumble! The demon lord punched out towards the heart-devouring demon lord's head. He raised his left leg and kicked out with a groin kick, bullying the weak with the strong. You people of the fiend celestial continent are truly despicable. The space dominus waved his scepter and a silver-white spatial storm blasted forward. The chief sovereign of fate stood atop the river of fate, transforming into a long dragon that swept forward. They wanted to stop the actions of the devil ancestors and protect Deshurtian. However, the remaining 8 devil ancestors wouldn't allow them to interfere. Each of them was an expert that wasn't any weaker than a sovereign. It blocked the attacks of the devil master and the other 2 on the spot. A jade-colored glass-like devil hand instantly grabbed at Deshurtian again. This attack was many times stronger than the previous one. A boundless pressure came crashing over like a mountain. Under this pressure, Sakura felt as though he was an ordinary tiger that could be easily crushed. Rumble. Oomph. So what if you're a devil ancestor? It won't be that easy to kill me. Deshurtian felt the crushing pressure. Waves of energy crazily gathered in his body as an unyielding will surged in his heart. He raised the Devil Slayer war spear in his hand and pointed it at the heart-devouring demon lord. As an emperor, even if he couldn't win, even if he had to die, he still had to die on the path of attack. Even if he died, his conviction and will would remain unyielding. His spirit was immortal. Even if you're a devil ancestor, you're still a devil. A devil should be killed. Deshurtian looked coldly at the heart-devouring demon lord. His heart didn't waver in the slightest as he spat out these words. Devil Slayer. Crazy. At this moment, the countless experts in the chaos battlefield felt like they were about to go crazy. They stared blankly at Deshurtian, a devil race expert who had proven his Tao through strength and whose combat strength was only comparable to a peerless expert. Not only did he not flee in the face of the devil ancestor's attack, he even raised his war spear and said that he wanted to slay the devil ancestor. This was simply pointing at a monk and scolding a baldy. And the person he was scolding was the devil ancestor. Thinking of that person, the peerless experts felt their scalps go numb as they panicked. 9 Devil Slayer strikes. 1 strike. 2 strikes. 3 strikes. 4 strikes. 5 strikes. 6 strikes. 7 strikes. Deshurtian waved his arms again and again as the 9 Devil Slayer strikes burst out. Suddenly, in the chaos, trillions of living beings appeared at the same time. One by one, they let out cries of slaying the devil, turning into a monstrous Devil Slayer will. That will was so strong that it was like a flood that broke through a dam. A roaring tsunami. Everywhere it passed, the chaos collapsed violently, turning into countless chaotic earth, fire, water, and wind. They roared crazily, splitting the heavens and splitting the earth, forming a world, and then being annihilated in an instant. This strike was stacked with the power of Devil Slayer. With his combat strength that was comparable to a devil god's, the power was so strong that it had touched upon an unbelievable realm. It was like an ant releasing a desperate strike before death. Hee. When the heart-devouring demon lord saw this, a cold light flashed in her eyes, but the smile at the corner of her mouth became even brighter. The 9 Devil Slayer strikes were indeed earth-shattering, but the Demon Lord was not someone who could be defeated with ordinary strength. She only sneered at Di Shirtian's attack in her heart. Rumble. However, just as the Sovereign and the Demon Lord were fighting fiercely, the heart-devouring Demon Lord was about to kill Di Shirtian, and the star-picking hand was about to collide with the Devil Slayer War Spear. Suddenly, the entire chaos shook violently with a loud roar. It was as if the entire chaos world was shaking violently. In the sky above the battlefield, the chaos aura twisted and spun wildly. Endless chaos aura was sucked into it, and in the blink of an eye, it formed a huge chaos vortex. In the middle of the vortex, on the other side of the vortex, one could vaguely see a vast and mysterious continent. Crack! The vortex only appeared for a moment, and in the blink of an eye, it began to dissipate. However, at the same time, a huge crystal coffin came out of the vortex. This heavenly coffin was huge, and on it, there were countless mysterious Tao runes. Vaguely, there were countless deities worshipping the heavenly coffin, and countless corpses piled up into a mountain. It was a chilling sight. Among the corpses, there was no lack of peerless experts, and the aura they emitted was not inferior to peerless experts. Inside, there seemed to be an unbelievably noble existence lying there. The moment the crystal coffin appeared, it immediately smashed towards the 9 demon lords. The first to bear the brunt was the heart-devouring demon lord. The heavenly coffin was huge like a mountain, and this smash was earth-shattering. Bang! One by one, the demon ancestors were sent flying in all directions. Terrifying cracks appeared on their bodies. The heart-devouring demon ancestor, who bore the brunt of the impact, was smashed to pieces. Blood and flesh splattered in all directions. At the same time, a 7-colored demon heart was smashed to the outside of the primal chaos. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared. No! The heart-devouring demon lord only had time to let out a scream, and countless pieces of flesh and blood gathered towards the center, trying to reform his body. Crack! The crystal coffin smashed onto the 9 demon lords, and although they were severely injured, at the same time, the counterattack from the demon lord's body also made the heavenly coffin bear the brunt of it. Cracks appeared on the heavenly coffin, and the heavenly coffin shattered. The heavenly coffin shattered on the spot. However, the shattered heavenly coffin did not shatter completely. Instead, it turned into 9 smaller heavenly coffins. They fell rapidly towards the origin heaven and earth. Vaguely, one could see that there was a mysterious woman in the heavenly coffin. This crystal heavenly coffin, the 9 crystallized coffins are formed in this way, and this heavenly coffin actually appeared in this way. Where's the other side of the vortex? Why do I feel an inexplicable pressure, a majesty that cannot be defied? So, this is how the heart of the heart-devouring demon lord fell. When Di Shirtian saw this scene, even with a strong will, he could not help but widen his eyes. This scene was deeply imprinted in his heart, and he finally understood where the crystallized coffins came from. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, he would not have imagined that a heavenly coffin could smash a demon lord into smithereens, and even cause the heart of a demon lord to fall out. The other demon lords were all severely injured, and such a mighty force was enough to make one's hair stand on end. It's really her. The scene that I saw in the vortex might be the legendary Eternal Heaven World. The heavenly coffin could very well have fallen from the Eternal Heaven World. It might contain the method to go to the Eternal Heaven World. Dark recovered from the shock and shouted loudly. A look of anticipation appeared in his eyes. The Eternal Heaven World was a supreme existence that transcended the chaos. Whoosh! Suddenly, a crystal banner appeared at the location where the crystal heavenly coffin had shattered. Countless mysterious runes appeared on the banner. Those runes appeared extremely strange. It was as if there was a strange, attractive force within them. It was unknown what material it was made of. The strange banner trembled slightly and swept towards Di Shirtian. In an instant, it swept the Emperor's sky chariot into the banner. Demon Summoning Banner. This is the Demon Summoning Banner? The Demon Summoning Banner was not born from the chaos, but appeared with the crystal coffin. Could it be that the demon race did not have the Demon Summoning Banner in the past, and it only appeared now? Dark almost jumped up in shock and shouted, no wonder I have never heard of the Demon Summoning Banner before the Ancient War, and it only appeared during the war. So it appeared at this time. This is the Demon Summoning Banner. Dishirtian's heart skipped a beat. He did not know why, but he felt a mysterious connection with the banner. It was as though he could easily control it, and in an instant he understood the endless magical uses of the banner. Whoosh! The Demon Summoning Banner wrapped around him, and with a strong sweep, it broke through the chaos and flew towards the origin source, heaven and earth. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 978. The Demon Summoning Banner. It was a supreme treasure of the demon clan that had been passed down since ancient times. Dishirtian had always thought that the Demon Summoning Banner had always been in the hands of a powerful demon clan expert. In later generations, there were many versions of the origin of the Demon Summoning Banner. The most reliable version was that it was refined by the supreme demon god of the demon clan using supreme spiritual materials. This version was also acknowledged by countless experts. However, he did not expect that the true origin of the Demon Summoning Banner would be like what he saw in front of him. It turned out that the Demon Summoning Banner had emerged from the other end of the vortex along with the crystal coffin. Moreover, being swept up in the banner, Dishirtian felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity, as if this Demon Summoning Banner should have originally belonged to him. Inside, a huge amount of information was quickly poured into his mind. With Dishirtian's strong mind, he understood in the blink of an eye that the information contained the various wonders of the Demon Summoning Banner. With this, even with his strong mind, he could not help but be violently shaken. He secretly rejoiced in his heart, gathering the true spirit, eternal immortality, gathering luck, gathering merit, deriving fate, supreme treasure. This is the real supreme treasure. No wonder it is said that once one obtains the Demon Summoning Banner, one will have the qualifications to be called an emperor and establish an imperial court. After understanding the wonders of the Demon Summoning Banner, he began to constantly deduce what he could do in the future. The power of this Demon Summoning Banner was almost enough to make his plan for the rise of the Demon Clan take a big step forward and enter a new era. An ancient golden door has appeared in my body. However, while he was rejoicing in his heart and heaving a sigh of relief, suddenly the power that was transmitted into his body from the Demon Summoning Banner seemed to have stimulated some kind of mysterious power. In his body, without any warning, an ancient golden door appeared. On this ancient door, countless tadpole-like textures were densely intertwined and distributed in every inch of the area. There seemed to be traces of mysterious space-time power in this ancient golden door. Faintly, an illusory and weak golden divine light flashed in the ancient door. All the divine light twisted to form a sesame-sized vortex. When this vortex was formed, it immediately began to emit a mysterious suction force. Lunatic D, this ancient door is devouring the power of time and space. The vortex is growing bigger and bigger. This door is identical to the one you entered when you first arrived at the primordial era in terms of energy and aura. It's trying to drag you back to the future. Once the vortex reaches the entire door of the ancient sect, you'll have to leave the ancient past. Nether let out a strange cry. He immediately sensed the power contained within the door of the ancient realm. The door of the ancient realm was clearly absorbing the power of time and space between heaven and earth. It was accumulating power to reverse time and space, and to pull people from the ancient era back to the modern era. The demon summoning banner was like a key that opened the door of the ancient realm. Once it was opened, it could no longer be reversed. 2 hours at most. D. Shurtian's confidence in himself had reached an unimaginable level. The appearance and changes of the door of the ancient realm naturally could not escape his eyes. In the blink of an eye, he had calculated how long the door of the ancient realm would need to devour to fill up its capacity. 2 hours. At most 2 hours, the door of the ancient realm would activate and irreversibly drag him back to the modern era. In other words, he would only stay in the ancient past for 2 hours. These 2 hours could be said to be short, but for D. Shurtian, it was enough to do everything he wanted to do. 2 hours is enough. It's enough for me to make arrangements for the world. D. Shurtian's eyebrows revealed a hint of confidence. The sudden arrival of the heavenly crystal coffin had severely injured the 9 demon ancestors at the same time. Even with the demon ancestors' immortal and indestructible bodies, they were still injured. What was more frightening was that the heart-devouring demon ancestor's demon heart was smashed away, and he fell from the demon ancestor level to the awkward half-step demon ancestor level. The successive heavy blows would inevitably cause the 9 demon ancestors to think of retreating. Once the 9 demon ancestors retreated, naturally, the outcome of the following war could already be foreseen. Even if they continued to fight, it would only be a mutual exhaustion between the origin world and the demon god continent. The overall situation was settled, and the rest was inconsequential. In that case, why should the demon race waste our resources for the Zhu Tian world? Sakura felt a chill in his heart as he recalled the changes that the demon race had encountered in the later generations. He had personally experienced countless demon race warriors risking their lives, throwing away their heads, spilling their blood, and sparing no expense in exchange for a living space. In the end, not only did they not get the reward they deserved, but they also suffered the most hateful counterattack. Countless demon race juniors were slaughtered. They were trampled. In his heart, he felt that it was not worth it for the demon race's martyrs. Even if the 9 demon ancestors retreated, the war between the 2 continents would definitely not end in a short period of time. In the fierce battle, the remaining forces of the demon race would definitely be exhausted. If it was in the modern era, D. Shurtian would naturally have no solution. However, since he had returned to the ancient era and the outcome of the war was almost clear, he naturally would not allow things to continue to develop. With only 2 hours, no matter how powerful he was, he would not be able to contend against the fully fledged human race and reverse the situation. The only thing he could do was to preserve the vitality and foundation of the demon race as much as possible. Kacha! The demon summoning banner wrapped around D. Shurtian and cut through the chaos at an astonishing speed, appearing on the Skyfall battlefield. Such a huge movement naturally attracted the attention of countless demon race and demon gods on the battlefield. Look, what a huge crystal banner. It fell from the chaos. Could it be a peerless expert who died in the chaos battlefield? Look, the banner is open. Isn't that the demon emperor's chariot? It's the demon emperor D. Shurtian. Almost instantly, discussions reverberated in the air above the battlefield. The demon summoning banner unfolded, and the celestial emperor's chariot and D. Shurtian appeared at the same time. The long banner was like a scroll painting. In a burst of crystal light, it quickly shrunk to the size of a palm and fell into his hand. Grabbing the demon summoning banner, Sakura's eyes swept across the battlefield. On the battlefield, there were less than 10 million demon clan warriors left. Furthermore, each of them had hideous wounds on their bodies, and some of them were on the verge of death. However, the demon god army was still huge. There were only a few hundred heavenly demon venerables left. Every one of them was in a terrible state. However, almost none of them retreated at the last minute. There was a resolute look on their faces. I am the demon emperor. The treasure in my hand is the demon summoning banner. It can preserve one's true spirit. Brothers of the demon race, please send your true spirit into the demon summoning banner. Even if you die, your true spirit will not be destroyed. There's a chance of rebirth. D. Shurtian stood on the celestial emperor's chariot and spoke. There was an unquestionable certainty in his voice. Every word was like a pearl, and those who heard it naturally trusted him. Whoosh! At the same time, he waved the demon's summoning banner in his hand across the entire battlefield. Immediately, a wave of crystal divine light swept out in all directions. In the blink of an eye, wherever it went, tiny spiritual lights flashed in the void of the battlefield like fireflies. These spiritual lights seemed to be able to sense the strange power emanating from the demon summoning banner. They all rushed toward the demon summoning banner excitedly. They entered the long banner. Faint spiritual lights appeared on the surface of the banner. Every spiritual light seemed to be nourished. They were originally weak like candlelight in the wind and had a tendency to be extinguished at any time. However, when they entered the banner, not only did the spiritual lights suddenly become stronger, but there was also a mysterious power that was faintly drilling into them, making the spiritual light gradually stronger. Look, that a bit of true spirit left behind by our demon clan brothers who died on the battlefield. The true spirit can really enter the banner. The true spirit is the most fundamental imprint in the body of a living being. As long as the true spirit is not destroyed, there is a chance of reincarnation and a chance to rebuild the true body. This demon summoning banner is the most precious treasure of our demon clan. The demon emperor's action is of great significance to our demon clan for thousands of years. The demon emperor's righteousness is the glory of our demon clan. Di Shirtian's action of absorbing the remaining demon clan's true spirits on the battlefield fell into the eyes of the other demons. They immediately had the most direct understanding of the importance of the demon summoning banner. If the true spirit could not be destroyed, it was equivalent to having a second chance. Without hesitation, one by one, they sent their true spirits into the demon summoning banner. Even the demon venerables were no exception. On this battlefield, no one could guarantee that they would be able to survive in one piece. In the blink of an eye, there were hundreds of millions of true spirits in the demon summoning banner. Some of the demon clan members who died even had their true spirits dissipated or had already entered the cycle of reincarnation. I entered the chaos battlefield and was granted permission by the Master of Fate to observe the River of Fate. I observed that the demon clan is about to face a great catastrophe, a catastrophe that could wipe out our entire clan. I wonder if you are willing to preserve a part of our heritage for our demon clan, so that we can wait for the day when our demon clan rises again. Between Sakra's brows, a beam of divine light shot out from his divine eye and landed on all the demons. Within the divine light, there were many messages and images that appeared in the minds of the demons. In those images, there were scenes of the demons being slaughtered, driven away, killed for their cores, and entering a state of decline. Boom, boom. In just an instant, waves of demon flames shot up into the sky. Every demon clan member's face was filled with incomparable rage. Even their bodies were trembling with anger. Their eyes were wide open. They were almost torn apart. Humans deserve to be killed. How could they be so despicable? We were fighting to the death with the demon gods on the battlefield, but the humans dare to turn around and attack us demon clans. They are indeed a bunch of ingrates. Let's go back. Let's go back and fight the humans. We can't let the humans have it easy. The demon clan members were filled with grief and indignation. The anger in their chests erupted uncontrollably. After Di Shirtian used the Master of Fate as a pretext to inform them of what was about to happen in the future, the demon clan members were about to explode with rage. Rage? It was an extraordinary rage. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen, please go to www.chidian.com to read more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 979. Today is the Mid-Autumn Festival. I wish all my readers a happy Mid-Autumn Festival. Of course, if you have a ticket, please help me. There was no one who could not be angry. They had mobilized the power of their entire race to fight the fiend celestials. But behind the scenes, not only had they not received the most sincere friendship and help from their comrades, what they had been waiting for was a counterattack. Their entire race had been massacred, and they had not been slain by the fiend celestials, but by their own people. This contrast had filled the hearts of countless demons with righteous indignation. In the images that Tion had sent over, all they could see were bloody scenes of the demons being massacred. They had fought against the invasion of the demon gods, but this was the result. What was the point of fighting against the demon gods? What was the value of it? In an instant, countless demons were filled with grief and indignation. TSK, the human race is so fickle. Not only did we not repay the favor of protecting the human race, we repaid it with enmity. This is so infuriating. The eyes of the Tong Tian ape king know it all shone with golden light. He was so angry that he clenched the cudgel in his hand tightly. He let out a strange cry and trembled with anger. Umph! The human race has been plotting for a long time. Most of our elites have been lost in the war. Even if we return now, I'm afraid it will be useless. Great Rock Demon Venerable's arrogant eyes flashed with a wisp of wisdom. The situation is irreversible, but I have a way to preserve the elites of the demon race. We can hide from the heavens and wait for the day we rise. I wonder if you are willing to sleep for 10,000 years. Sakura's eyes flashed with an unquestionable look as he forcefully spat out a sentence. His voice was filled with immense confidence. Now that he had proven his Tao through strength, his combat prowess had increased his confidence by countless times. His words had an indescribable quality to them. Many pairs of eyes fell on Tion. Tion just stood quietly on the celestial emperor's chariot. His body was as steady as Mount Tai and did not move at all. However, his body naturally exuded a powerful aura, an indescribable charm and temperament. We are willing to obey the orders of the demon emperor. The remaining demonic beasts, after watching for a while, seemed to have seen the scene of him fighting bravely on the battlefield. Then, they all retreated back to the Star Battle Island. Tens of millions of elite demons left the battlefield. The demon gods seemed to have great misgivings when they saw Tion. To put it bluntly, they were afraid of Tion. When he appeared, he seemed to have received some kind of order, so he retreated to the Devil Burial Battle Island. He was extremely fearful of him. He knew that the ordinary demon god army was no different from clay chickens and pottery dogs in front of him. Demon Emperor, you saved my life on the battlefield, and I believe you. I will wait for the rise of the demon race 10,000 years later. A monster venerable glanced at Tion and said. He then turned around and entered the astral battle island. It was a heavenly monster that Tion had casually saved on the battlefield. Weiyao will not be exterminated. A demon venerable stared at Tion without blinking his eyes. He asked with a questioning tone that was hard to describe. Tion looked at him and nodded. He said seriously, Weiyao will never be exterminated. As if they had received some kind of guarantee, the remaining monster venerables entered the astral battle island one after another. An invisible trust began to spread in the void. Tion felt a warm feeling in his chest. Hundreds of monster venerables entered the battle island. However, there were still some monster venerables who did not enter. It was not that they did not trust him, but that they were unwilling. They could not watch the descendants of the demon race and their bloodline be slaughtered. They would return to the purple gold land. However, at this moment, they were all looking at Tion. It was as if they were waiting for his next move. The laws of heaven and earth, listen to my order. Seal the astral battle island. Tion looked at the astral battle island. His body suddenly emitted a supreme will, as if he was the supreme ruler of the whole world, controlling the operation of heaven and earth and grasping the infinite laws. He spoke one word at a time, as if he was reading the heavenly Tao. Every word was in harmony with heaven and earth, like an imperial edict that could not be disobeyed. Rumble. As soon as his voice fell, the law followed. Immediately, mysterious Archean seal runes condensed from the void and swarmed toward the entire battle island. In the blink of an eye, they were integrated into the battle island. For a moment, the entire battle island seemed to be strangely sealed, completely isolated from the surrounding heaven and earth. It did not reveal any aura, golden mouth, and jade words. Rock Demon Venerable's pupils shrank. He narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at Tian with an indescribable charm. All the demons on the battle island will enter the reincarnation illusion. Experience the trial of reincarnation. Tian did not care about the gazes of the other demon venerables and spoke again. At the same time, a divine light burst out from his divine eye and appeared on the battle island, turning into a huge reincarnation disc. The sound of reincarnation reverberated, filling every inch of the battle island. Suddenly, all the demon warriors, even the demon venerables, fell into a deep sleep involuntarily, but their minds entered a mysterious reincarnation illusion. The reincarnation disc disappeared and the battle island disappeared. The origins of the 5 elements accompany the left and right, circulating endlessly, deducing the chaos and confusing the mysteries of heaven. With the third sentence, a 5 elements disc appeared. The power of the 5 elements enveloped the entire battle island, circulating endlessly around the battle island. The origins of the 5 elements intertwined, as if dividing the battle island into an independent heaven and earth. All the aura was restrained, and all the mysteries of heaven related to it were confused. Karma blesses. Anyone who spies will suffer endless karma backlash. Layers of gray fog appeared out of thin air and enveloped the battle island, filling every inch of the battle island. In the blink of an eye, even divine consciousness could not pry into the things inside. If anyone tried to pry into it by force, they would suffer terrible karma backlash, triggering the karma fire of the Red Lotus. Return. Tian pointed at the battle island. Suddenly, the entire starry battle island shrunk rapidly, and in an instant, like a meteor, it fell toward the entire purple gold land. It was like an ordinary meteor. In the battlefield, it was inconspicuous. After everything was done, Tian suddenly glanced at a certain spot in the void instinctively. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw a familiar purple figure. However, the figure disappeared in the blink of an eye. Crash! A purple light fell from the sky, like a purple star falling in the starry sky. It fell in the direction of the starry battle island. It looked strange. It's her, Tian said to himself. It flashed with inexplicable colors. Lunatic D, hurry up. What else do you have to do? Hurry up and do it. You don't have much time left. You have at most 2 hours. No, less than 2 hours. The bigger the vortex in the ancient door, the stronger the suction force it emits, and the faster it gathers the space-time energy. At most, we will be pulled back to the future in half an hour. No, it may not even be half an hour. The ancient sect is absorbing faster and faster. Ming had been carefully watching the ancient sect. He was most aware of the changes in the ancient sect, so he immediately reminded him. I've done everything I can. Tian looked in the direction of the starry battle island, with an inexplicable expression in his eyes, and said, Time is too short. Otherwise, I would go to the purple gold land personally and give a human tribe a big gift. Since he had obtained the demon summoning banner and opened the ancient sect, time had been shrinking for him. The time that had stopped in the antiquity times would disappear in the blink of an eye. Although there were some regrets, there were nothing since he had personally experienced the war of antiquity times. Rock Demon Venerable Tong Tian Ape King. A light flashed in Tian's hand, and a jade wine gourd quickly emerged, flying to each of the demon venerables. He also held a gourd in his hand. He opened the mouth of the gourd, and a rich wine aroma wafted out. After we part today, we'll meet again in 10,000 years. Tian raised the gourd and toasted to the demon venerables. If I don't die, We'll meet again in 10,000 years. Rock Demon Venerable nodded coldly and said, although he didn't know why Sakura mentioned the 10,000-year time limit, he didn't delve too deeply into it and only answered in passing. Demon Emperor, I, the know-it-all, rarely take a fancy to anyone. You're one of them. You can advance so quickly in the battlefield and prove your Tao through strength. If we have the chance to meet again in the future, I must drink and chat with you. Let's drink to our heart's content. The know-it-all chuckled and savored the wine in his hand. We'll definitely meet again. Tian looked at the know-it-all and smiled inexplicably. He glanced at the demon venerables and said, everyone, take care. As soon as he finished speaking, the ancient sect in his body swallowed a huge amount of space-time power at an astonishing speed. Looking at the ancient sect, the golden vortex had completely covered the inside of the ancient sect. It filled every inch of the space. An invisible suction force was emitted from the ancient sect and quickly covered Shurkian's entire body. That power was full of mystery. In the blink of an eye, it wrapped around his body and pulled him into the ancient sect, disappearing from the star battlefield in the blink of an eye. At the same time, the moment he disappeared, between heaven and earth, an invisible force descended out of thin air and silently covered the entire heaven-tilting battlefield. In this battlefield, all the experts only felt their minds go into a trance. Inexplicably, it was as if there was an additional thing in their minds. There seemed to be some inexplicable confusion in their eyes. The space-time power, the space-time gate. This Tian is indeed a variable. In the chaos, a young voice with vicissitudes of life sounded. Space Master, even you can't refine this space-time gate. It seems that there's a mysterious force behind him that's driving him. He can actually cross space-time and enter the ancient times. His cultivation method is not inferior to ours. It's possible that he obtained the inheritance of a tomb of the gods. An old voice said, to be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 980. Happy Mid-Autumn Festival. He's a variable, and variables can't be determined by common sense. Any natural law can't bind variables. The power of desire and the imperial Tao combine to create a wondrous book that isn't the least bit inferior to what we got from the god Necropolis. His potential is limitless. The Devil Lord's eyes were profound as he looked at the Heavenfall battlefield. Perhaps he has the potential to become a sovereign lord. What do you think of the Heavenly Coffin? The Space Sovereign asked. If I'm not mistaken, the Heavenly Coffin has the same origin as the tomb of the God of Sin. It has immeasurable power. If it weren't for the Heavenly Coffin, even if we had the tomb of the God of Sin to support us, I'm afraid we would have been sealed. That said, the crisis has finally come to an end. The Sovereign of Fate seemed to be somewhat moved. Fate was the greatest variable in heaven and earth, and the most terrifying variable. At this moment, in the future, the slovenly know-it-all suddenly jumped up from an ancient tree. The expression on his face was very interesting. Sometimes it was red, sometimes it was white, and sometimes it was green. It was as if he had opened a dying workshop. Even his skinny body was trembling violently, as if he knew something inconceivable. This sealed memory actually has something to do with him. He actually participated in the Heavenfall War of the Primordial Era. TCH, we even drank and chatted merrily and fought side by side. Damn it, that can't be right. I've been watching his growth all this time. Tiger Hill, the Southern Barbarians, he rose from nothing. That was clearly in the modern world. How could he possibly appear in the Primordial Era? Could it be that space-time has been reversed? The know-it-all scratched his head so hard that his hair was a complete mess. Reversed space-time and returned to the Primordial Era? Even the Sovereign Lord might not be able to use a divine ability like that. What's going on here? Why were the memories related to him sealed back then? And why are they suddenly unsealed now? All sorts of questions filled his mind, and he felt like his head was about to explode. Just now, the mysterious seal in his mind had been completely unsealed, and a figure suddenly appeared in the primordial era war. D. Shirtion. It turned out to be D. Shirtion. Even with his vast knowledge, he couldn't help but feel a strong sense of shock. He had always watched D. Shirtion's growth with his own eyes and secretly protected him from time to time. The reason for this was because when he first saw him, he instinctively had an indescribable premonition. Otherwise, with his status, he would not have paid attention to a small demon. However, he did not expect that the memory that had been sealed since ancient times was related to D. Shirtion. Furthermore, according to his memory, it happened in ancient times. This made him somewhat unable to fathom why the same identity appeared in both the ancient and modern world at the same time. This was something that had never happened before in the world. The possibilities hidden within were simply too shocking. The Celestial Emperor's War Chariot, the immemorial 9 dragons, the Book of Shocking the Imperial World, the Indestructible Body, the Tiger Soul, the 7 Sins Demonic Zither, and the Bell of Heavenly Samsara. It's definitely him. The know-it-all narrowed his eyes. Wisps of light flashed from time to time. He was sure that the person he saw in ancient times was definitely the D. Shirtion that he knew. See you again 10,000 years later? So that's the meaning of that sentence back then. I finally understand a little bit. The know-it-all took a deep breath. Some of the mysteries in his heart were suddenly solved. His eyes were deep, and there was a faint surprise. So there is still an elite of the demon race left. The Astral Battle Island. Where was the Demon Emperor sent the Astral Battle Island? When his memory was sealed, he had always thought that the Astral Battle Island had been destroyed in the Great War. But now he knew that not only was the Astral Battle Island not destroyed, but there were still the elites of the demon race left after the Great War. They were also the experts with the most potential that had been honed in the Great War. In all the heavens and realms, I'm afraid no one knows that the demon race still has such a hidden heritage. The know-it-all had a playful look on his face. After slumbering on the starry battle island for tens of thousands of years, the survivors were the most elite of the demon race. They were the ones with the greatest potential. Almost the weakest among them were at the peak of the ancient demon saint realm. Given the ability of the starry battle island, breaking through to the ancient heavenly demon realm was a piece of cake. Back then, there were nearly 10 million demon race warriors who entered the island. Perhaps, when they reappeared, they would give all the heavens and realms a big surprise. At this moment, in the heaven-reaching tower, in the Thousand Snake Valley where the Snake Queen lived, there was not the slightest movement. Less than 2 hours had passed since D. Shirtion and the others entered the valley. In the mysterious secret realm formed by the convergence of countless lights and shadows, the Snake Queen, who was dressed in a 9-colored robe and had a human head and a snake body, exuded a faint aura and exuded endless charm. She was still holding her scepter with a calm expression on her face and did not move an inch. In the center of the secret realm stood an ancient golden door. Every pattern on the surface of the ancient door contained the most profound principles of time and space between heaven and earth. At every moment, it seemed as if countless spaces were constantly being born and disappearing. Inside, time flowed in a disorderly manner, exuding an ancient and desolate aura, as well as an endless future. There was not a trace of direction. The Snake Queen's eyes fell on the ancient door and whispered softly, "Tian Peng, Tian Peng, you sacrifice yourself to obtain this space-time gate to leave an opportunity for the demon race to rise. I promise to guard it for you. However, whether D. Shirtion can obtain the demon-summoning banner or not depends on his luck. If he does not come out in a year, the space-time gate's origin will be exhausted and it will collapse on its own. I can't do anything about it." She seemed to be talking to the ancient door. Boom! Suddenly, the door of the ancient world, which had been standing motionless, suddenly emitted waves of strange space-time power without any warning. It shook slightly, causing ripples to appear in the surrounding space. Wave-like ripples flickered in the ancient door and quickly twisted to form a golden vortex. The space-time gate has been activated. Is he coming back? The Snake Queen's seductive body trembled slightly, and her eyes fell on the ancient door without blinking. Whoosh! A golden light flashed, and a slender figure slowly walked out of the vortex. Crack! The moment he walked out of the gate of time and space behind him, hideous and terrifying cracks immediately appeared on it. Like a spider web, they quickly spread in all directions. With a crisp sound, the gate of time and space shattered on the spot into small pieces. They scattered on the ground. All of the divine light dimmed in an instant. Every fragment became like the most ordinary stone, without the slightest bit of light. The space-time gate was broken. However, above the fragments, a long sleeve suddenly swept across and took away all the fragments. Tion looked up and looked around. Looking at the strange scene around him, the monstrous fighting spirit that had been his eyes since the ancient war gradually disappeared. I'm finally back. He slowly breathed a sigh of relief. His tense state of mind could not help but be relieved. His whole body and mind felt like they had been reborn. Congratulations, Demon Emperor. I'll wait for you in the Snake Residence. The Snake Empress looked at Sakura, who had reappeared, and nodded her head slightly. The look in her eyes when she looked at him was completely different. It was no longer the condescending look from before, but a kind of equality, as if she was facing the same existence as herself. The tone of her voice also had a hint of admiration. After she finished speaking, she turned to leave. In fact, in her heart, it was like a tsunami that was constantly rolling and surging, violently fluctuating. What kind of existence was she? With just a glance, she had already discovered the difference in the aura on Tion's body. His skin naturally emitted divine light, and an invisible deterrent force, which had caused him to undergo an earth-shattering transformation before and after entering the ancient door. His body is covered by a treasure light, and his flesh and blood are one, and his strength is infinite. His hair is like a divine weapon, and when he raises his hand, it's as if he could collapse the sky. He actually proved his Tao with strength and shattered the vacuum. The moment she left, a thought flashed across her mind. When she thought of this fact, she could not help but become solemn. Proving one's Tao with strength was more difficult than the path of an ordinary supreme demon god. Similarly, once she really broke through that layer of shackles, although there was a flaw in her primordial spirit, her physical strength alone was enough to contend against a peerless expert. Snake Queen. Tion looked at the back of the Snake Queen, and there was also a trace of doubt in his heart. He still had a feeling that he could not see through the Snake Queen. She was not a demon, but she had an ancient aura. Aha! Crazy Emperor, you've really struck it rich this time. I didn't expect to have the opportunity to return to the ancient times. This time, just the various demonic treasures, demonic weapons, and countless materials that can only be found in the Demon God continent are so huge that it's even more than the exquisite treasure vault that you obtained previously, and even the Crimson Treasure Tide. Just these gains alone are boundless. Nether shouted in excitement. At this moment, the Nether prison was filled with demon gods' devil souls. All of them were killed by Sakura. There were hundreds of millions, no, billions of demon gods' devil souls. These demonic souls, even the cultivation techniques obtained from torture, would be extremely valuable. The cultivation techniques obtained from torture could be sent into the altar of lust to be refined into the sacred spirit of lust. Demonic souls were the best refining materials. Phew! Tion exhaled slowly, and a strange thought appeared in his mind. If I hadn't entered the gate of space and time, would I have been there during the ancient war? If I hadn't been there, would the demonic gods have really lost their last bit of vitality? Or was it destiny that I would return to the ancient times? In that case, was my fate really in the hands of destiny? If it wasn't, then why would I be here? A jumbled mess of thoughts reverberated in his mind, as if they were in an unsolvable loop. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. I support the author, and I support the original readers. Chapter 981. Was it because he had returned to the ancient times that he had achieved what he had in this life? Or was it because of his current strength that he could return to the ancient times and change the situation? Was it because his fate had already been decided? Or was his fate still under his control? The questions were like a cycle of unsolvable problems. Suddenly, Sakura shook his head and chuckled. He raised his head to look at the surroundings and muttered, "No matter if it's because of my actions or because of other reasons, what does it have to do with me? I am me. As long as I get what I want, that's enough. As long as I don't lose my mind, no one can control me." He mocked himself in his heart. The question just now was like asking if there was an egg and then a chicken, or if there was a chicken and then an egg. Actually, crazy emperor, you don't have to worry about these questions. Your existence is a variable. However, the real harvest this time is too great. Leaving the heaven-reaching tower and returning to the demon city is enough to increase the overall strength of the demon race. Dark said with a strange smile. It could be considered to have seen clearly that Sakura's existence was a complete variable. Wherever he went, he would cause a huge change. What was a variable? That was because he was filled with endless possibilities. There was no fixed number. For the same thing, under the influence of fate, others might follow a certain path, but for him, it was filled with endless possibilities. Perhaps with a single thought, he could make all sorts of choices. Such an existence as fate was not something that could be controlled by anyone. Such a variable was the most terrifying. It was full of too many unknowns. Variable. Sakura smiled calmly and inwardly thought about his own harvest. The biggest gain was that he had cultivated the indestructible emperor body to the 10th level. Although he was not a demon god, he had the battle strength to match an unparalleled expert. Then there were the wool crystals he had extracted from the heaven devils and devil generals. There were more than 100,000 of them, all of which were stored in the jade box. Once he got back, he would be able to use them to quickly solidify his imperial will. That way, he would be able to reach the heavenly demon level without any obstacles. All these gains were extremely difficult to come by in the future. Let's go. It's time to meet the Snake Queen. After sorting out the harvest from this trip to the ancient times, Sakura straightened his body and took a step forward, tearing open the secret realm. As he took a step forward, the scenery in front of him changed. In the blink of an eye, he had already left the grotesque and variegated secret realm and stepped into the real valley. TSK. So many snakes, and all of them are ancient snakes. Nether clicked his tongue and cried out. After entering the valley, he casually took a look and saw colorful, strange snakes everywhere on the ground. Snake holes of all sizes could be seen everywhere. When those strange snakes saw Sakura coming in, they spat out their tongues one after another as ominous glints shot out from their eyes. Tion only slightly released a trace of pressure, and the surrounding strange snakes all retreated. In the valley, there was a bamboo residence made of green bamboo. It looked very elegant and was guarded by many bloodkill guards. Ancestor and the others were in the courtyard. "Your Majesty, you're finally out." Seeing Tion come, Ancestor and the other demons in the courtyard immediately came forward to greet him. "Gord Luzi and Xie Sanyang greet your Majesty." Suddenly, Gord Luzi, who had always been cold and arrogant, took a few steps forward with Xie Sanyang and bowed respectfully. Looking at the expression in their eyes, when they looked at Sakura, their eyes revealed shock, surprise, awe, respect, and so on. It was extremely complicated. However, their actions were no longer as arrogant as before. Instead, there was a trace of inexplicable restraint. When Tion heard this, he glanced around and saw the change in Gord Luzi and the others. He nodded slightly, but his heart was already clear. "Where are Medusa and Shui Wuya?" In the courtyard, 2 people were missing. "Your Majesty," Ancestor said in a deep voice, "the Snake Queen sent Shui Wuya away as soon as we came in. I don't know where they went. Medusa is talking with the Snake Queen in the bamboo house. The Snake Queen said that if your Majesty comes, you can go in directly to find them." "Shui Wuya was sent away?" Could it be that he went to receive the inheritance? Did the rock demon Venerable really die? A thought flashed across his mind, but he still nodded and said, "Go and tidy up. When I come out, we will immediately return to the demon city." As he spoke, he walked into the bamboo house. At this moment, the entire purple gold mainland was in an uproar. Countless divine wills and news were spreading crazily from all over the place. Countless ears were reporting to each other, spreading the news everywhere. Countless sects and forces were shocked, because after the Thousand Heroes Summit, the heroes gathered and finally began to take action. On the third day, there was news. Big news, big news. It's incredible. The various clans and heroes have formed an alliance at the Thousand Heroes Summit. There are no less than 1,000 ancient giants following the guidance of the Jade Slab. They have indeed found traces of the Demon Suppression Valley in a barren mountain range. The various clans have worked together to break the space barrier and entered the Demon Suppression Valley. They were blocked by the Blood River. There are countless blood corpses in the Blood River. According to the experts of the various clans, these blood corpses are creatures of various clans who died in the war with the demon gods in the ancient times. Some were even transformed by the demon gods. There are many of them. Each of them has tyrannical battle strength and extremely strong physical bodies. There are also blood corpse emperors who are comparable to ancient giants. The blue-robed human Venerable was sucked dry of blood by the blood corpse emperors. He was torn into pieces and fell into the Blood River, dying on the spot. An ancient giant from the Yin clan, Chi Yin, was also ambushed by the blood corpse emperors and was swept into the Blood River. The various clans lost tens of thousands of cultivators. The battlefield was extremely tragic. There were specialized ears that were constantly monitoring the progress in the Demon Suppression Valley. However, as soon as they entered, they suffered an unimaginable blow at the first checkpoint. The blood corpses blotted out the sky and covered the earth. Almost as soon as the battle started, the heroes suffered considerable losses. Some of the weaker ones almost died under the claws of the blood corpses. The alliance was dealt a blow on the spot. Even ancient giants fell one after another. As soon as the news spread, all the major forces on the purple gold mainland were in an uproar. The various clans began to worry. However, when they thought of the demon heart in the Demon Suppression Valley, none of the cultivators would retreat. The fourth day. Good news. Many ancient giants in the Alliance have joined forces and opened a passage through the Blood River. The Alliance is advancing into the Demon Suppression Valley. According to reliable information, the Allied forces have already entered the Devil Suppression Valley. The valley is filled with countless skeletons left behind after the ancient war. There are devil gods and various races. Each of those skeletons is a top-grade material for refining weapons. Some cultivators have already found ancient treasures inside. The news came one after another. From the news, it was obvious that the group of cultivators had already begun to plunder a large amount of wealth after entering the valley. Almost every demon god that died in the ancient times had tyrannical strength. Their bodies were strong, and their skeletons also had great power. They were rare materials to refine magic treasures. The fifth day. Not good. There are actually demon gods hidden in the Demon Suppression Valley. They are demon gods, and they're sky demon level demon gods. There are close to 100,000 sky demon gods. It's over. It's all over. The various clans are fighting the demon gods. The losses are extremely heavy. The alliance has been defeated. All the cultivators have been scattered and are fleeing outside. Blood is flowing like a river. It's really a river of blood. The alliance that entered the Demon Suppression Valley has lost more than 90% of its members. A peerless human powerhouse has appeared to stop the demon gods. They're still fighting fiercely. I'm guessing that the Demon Suppression Valley has been occupied by the demon gods, and there are demon emperor level powerhouses inside. News after news spread like wildfire throughout the entire purple gold continent. Everyone who heard it was in an uproar. An indescribable shock almost made the various clans unable to close their mouths. Demon gods? and they were sky demon level demon gods. A total of 100,000 sky demon gods were actually hiding in the Demon Suppression Valley, and no one knew about it. This fact made countless forces feel cold in their hearts. Everyone knew how terrifying demon gods were. The rule of the demon god continent had always been the law of the jungle. The weak were waiting for destruction. Back in the ancient times, when the demon god invaded, his plan was to devour the entire purple gold mainland. He wanted to kill all the living things on it, destroy all living things. The devastation of that battle had not been forgotten even now. However, no one would have thought that there would be so many demon gods on the violet gold mainland. 100,000 heavenly demons. If all of them were to enter the mainland and start a massacre, the bloody storm that would be created would be enough to wipe out countless lives. The danger was almost immeasurable. In the demon city, in the Jade Pool, Qing Xia stood in front of Chun Shi and quickly reported the news she received. The news was about the defeat of the alliance between the human race and the various clans in the Demon Suppression Valley, as well as the 100,000 sky demon gods. Almost 90% of the alliance between the human race and the various clans were killed in the Demon Suppression Valley. When Shinshi heard this, a strange look flashed across his face, and then he said, "The Demon Emperor previously said that we demons are not to interfere in anything related to the demon gods. Now, we demons are no longer the main characters of the world. Even if the sky falls, there are still humans to hold it up." The demons who had suffered once did not want to suffer a second time. However, once the news of the 100,000 sky demon god spreads, most of the cultivators on the purple gold continent will enter the demon city. If they want to rely on the supreme divine artifact to take refuge, pass down the order that the auction will be arranged as soon as possible. Yes, the auction. This was something that the demon city had been busy with recently. The demon city wanted to become stronger again and complete the various laws in the Imperial Jade Archive. The amount of resources required was unimaginable. Only by using a place like the auction could they have the opportunity to collect all kinds of precious spiritual materials. Continuously completing the laws in the Jade Archive. All 3,000 laws were completed. This was a huge project that ordinary cultivators could not imagine. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 982. Although many of the great Tao talismans have been completed in the Imperial Jade Archive, the amount of treasures used to complete each one was immeasurable. It was formed by the accumulation of priceless war islands. Void crystal, builderwood, godseal steel, and so on. Each of them was a supreme treasure that countless cultivators dreamed of obtaining. The Imperial Jade Archive was like a bottomless pit, continuously devouring all kinds of supreme treasures. However, while the great Tao talismans were being completed, the myriad demon city was also becoming stronger. Every time a talisman was completed, there would be an additional great Tao pattern on the ancient city. Once a talisman was completed, the great Tao laws that belonged to the myriad demon city would be born. It would be easier to comprehend the laws and principles within. The Imperial Jade Archive was the foundation of the myriad demon city's ascension to the immortal grade. Only when the 3,000 great Taos were completed would the laws of heaven and earth be formed in the ancient city. Only then would it truly be without any flaws and become an independent heaven and earth. It would have a mystical power comparable to the purple gold continent. It could be said that once it became an immortal grade divine artifact, the myriad demon city would become another purple gold continent. How could such an ascension not require a small amount of resources? It had to gather all kinds of unique treasures from all over the universe, absorb the laws of heaven and earth, gather all kinds of cultivation methods, and imbue them into the Imperial Jade Archive. All of this required a good platform. Without a doubt, The auction house was the most direct and simple way and platform. The myriad demon city was blessed by the heavens. It was a supreme divine artifact, and in terms of safety, it could be said to be the best in the world. Spirit wine, all kinds of spiritual treasures from the banished lands, and even the longevity pill were unique treasures that could bring great attraction to the auction house. There is also a large number of magic treasures and pills refined by the demon race's refiners and alchemists. All kinds of rare treasures. The myriad demon city alone had prepared no less than 30 million items for this auction. If the auction was opened and other cultivators entrusted it to sell, it could be predicted that the number of items auctioned would definitely exceed 100 million. The scale, the number of items, and the variety of items would definitely surpass the exquisite auction of the past. Notify Tian, Can, and Huang Quan. After the Purple Firmament auction house is done forging, have Dan Wang go to the 100 Herb Garden and ask Susu for a batch of heaven and earth essence. Then lead all the alchemists and refine as many pills as possible. In the meantime, all the refiners will be provided with unlimited materials and blueprints. They would try their best to craft enough magical equipment and even acquired spiritual treasures before the auction. Divine weapon. The success or failure of the auction this time concerns the face of our myriad demon city. We absolutely cannot allow the slightest mistake. Chun-Shi paid no attention to the fact that the heroes had suffered a setback in the devil-suppressing valley. That had nothing to do with the demon clan. The ones who should be troubled were the humans and the other races. However, the threat of the demon god might have a huge impact on the auction. After obtaining such a huge harvest, there was no room for any accidents. A good start was very important. As long as this auction was a success, it would make a name for itself. There would be no need to advertise, as there would naturally be an endless stream of rare and precious treasures coming to the auction house. Yes, Qing Xia will go and deliver the decree now. Hearing this, Qing Xia's valiant face showed respect, and she looked at Chun-Shi with admiration. The reason why the myriad demon city was still in order when the demon king was absent was that Chun-Shi, the demon empress, was guarding the jade pool and stabilizing the demon heart. She thought to herself, I heard a saying in the human clan that behind every successful man, there is a great woman. In my opinion, the woman behind His Majesty the Demon King is the Demon Empress. Empress, there is one more thing to report to you. Qing Xia did not go out immediately. Instead, she spoke again. What is it? Reporting to the Empress, after my demon city stopped in the southern barbarian, the remaining demon clansmen on the purple gold continent and even in the myriad worlds have all gathered in the city. Every day, a large number of demon clansmen enter the city. There is no lack of experts among them, who and the others suspect that there may be spies of other forces hidden among these returning clansmen. Qing Xia's eyes flashed. Even if it was the demon clan, there would be traitors. Since ancient times, the changes that had happened were too great. It's fine. Inform Baiwei and let the demon guard secretly supervise. If there is any movement that endangers the myriad demon city, we can act at our discretion and start to clean it up. Chun-Shi said after pondering for a while. There are no fish in the clear water. Some things were inevitable. If they made a big fuss because of this, it would not be the best solution. Yes, Qing Xia agreed and left respectfully. Chun-Shi stood up slightly and walked to a garden. She looked at the void, pinching a mysterious petal between her fingers, and muttered to herself, calculating the time, it should be about time for my husband to return. This time, if nothing goes wrong, it should be time for him to become an emperor. I wonder if Mengshi and the others have discussed the rules of distance for the construction of the demon court. She knew that what Di Shirtian was doing now was to truly establish an emperor dynasty that belonged to the demon clan. Just like how the human race established countries, in front of a truly complete national machine, no matter how strong an individual was, they would be destroyed. Only by establishing an emperor dynasty could the overall strength of the demon clan be completely and efficiently coordinated. There was a unified order to guide the demon clan to develop together, directing all their energy to the same place. Truly like a whole, not a plate of loose sand. However, this required the establishment of a management organization that supported the entire demon court. These were all done by Mengshi, Hu, and the other wise men of the demon clan. Once they became emperors and formed the demon court, it would definitely be the time for all the forces in the myriad demon city to rearrange their positions. A complete organization could drive the development of the entire demon clan. Chun, she was secretly paying attention to this. This was a major event in the future. However, he did not mention that the purple firmament auction house was being built in the myriad demon city with great fanfare, preparing for the auction. Although the demon clan did not care if the demon god would appear in the purple gold continent, the various factions and clans had an indescribable reaction and shock to the defeat in the demon suppression valley. At the intersection of the east, west, south, and north sea, there was a unique sea area called the Dragon Region. The intersection of the four sea areas could be said to be a one-of-a-kind miracle in the entire purple gold continent. Moreover, the place where they converged was not the real sea, but the convergence of the tides of the four great seas, forming a mysterious area. This sea area was very unique. Later on, it was found by the Dragon Clan and occupied, becoming the ancestral land of the Dragon Clan. This sea area was called the Dragon Region. It had always been extremely difficult for those without the Dragon Clan bloodline to enter. There were various branches of the Dragon Clan living in it. Most importantly, there was the most important place for the Dragon Clan, the Ancestral Dragon Palace. The Ancestral Dragon Palace was the true foundation of the Dragon Clan. Only the Dragon Clan that had reached the level of an ancient giant could enter the Ancestral Dragon Palace to live. Obtain a dragon throne. At this moment, in the Ancestral Dragon Palace, there was a black-haired youth wearing a black dragon robe sitting on the main seat. However, his eyes were closed. There did not seem to be any aura of an expert on his body. It looked a little strange. However, in the palace, there was no disrespectful gaze toward him. On both sides were dragon thrones. Some of the dragon thrones were already occupied by dragon emperors, while others were empty. However, there were no less than 100 dragon emperors present. If this was released, it would be a huge threat. There are actually close to 100,000 sky demon hidden in the demon suppression valley. The demon god continent has such a profound plan. According to reliable news, it has been confirmed that close to 90% of the allied forces that entered the demon suppression valley have been lost. It is said that the real reason for such a serious loss is that they were bewitched by the demon heart sealed in the demon suppression tower. A dragon emperor wearing a red dragon robe said in a deep voice. It seems that the demon god has not given up on the origin world and is already itching to make a move. Close to 100,000 sky demon? The demon god continent is indeed far stronger than us. We Dragon Clan must be vigilant. Once the annihilation tide comes, it will be accompanied by another great war. Another dragon emperor wearing an ice blue palace dress said. She was extremely wary of the demon god continent. Yes, this time, we Dragon Clan did not join the allied forces and avoided a disaster. Speaking of which, it is all thanks to the news from the demon emperor of the demon clan. In my opinion, the demon clan's strength is recovering at an astonishing speed. With the demon city as the foundation, even an unparalleled expert cannot destroy the demon clan. Now, the demon clan's population in the demon city is close to 10 billion. Although most of them are weak spirit beasts and demon beasts, it is foreseeable that the demon clan's future is unstoppable. Moreover, the demon emperor can be called a hero. I think that we Dragon Clan and the demon clan should be closer to each other. A middle-aged dragon emperor wearing a golden dragon robe had a wise look in his eyes. It was the Yenbo dragon emperor in the Misty Wave Lake. Because of his 3 daughters, he had a close attitude toward the demon clan. That's right, the rise of the demon clan is unstoppable. In ancient times, the dragon clan was also a part of the demon clan. I have no objection to being close to the demon clan. This time, we owe the Demon Emperor a favor. The Dragon Emperors spoke one after another. The black-robed youth sitting on top kept his eyes closed, but in his heart, he had an inexplicable feeling. The Celestial Emperor's war chariot, the peerless Demon Emperor, so it's you. So the Ode to Heaven was talking about you. Star Clan, Force Clan, and so on. A group of clans that received the news and withdrew temporarily made a decision to be close to the Demon Clan. Immediately, batches of youths from various clans were sent to the Demon City. However, the various clans that suffered heavy losses in the Demon Suppression Valley were furious. Especially among the humans, the 10 major immortal sects were all furious. They immediately spread the word that the 10 major immortal sects would send their supreme artifact to the Demon Suppression Valley to suppress the demon god, purge the peace of the purple gold continent, and eliminate the demon god. Restore peace to the heavens. Give justice to the dead. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.